Well, hello everybody. How you doing this Friday evening? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to Jedi Grand
Walter, it's Thursday.
Yeah,
Wow. I'm
even
so
even
excited. I
even
forgot what
e-
day it was.
it's Thursday, even where I am in Germany.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, hey, that shows how excited I am to do this. So
Okay, hold on. What? Again, and clap.
yes, take two. Yeah, what up, everybody? How you doing? This is Walter Ross, or as I've been known as Jedi Grand Vale. Welcome to Jedi Grand Vale Productions, and hopefully you're doing well on this Thursday afternoon. You're doing okay, but I'm glad that y'all coming to see us because what we got here today is we're going to be talking about probably some of the most talked about kind of things we usually don't talk about, but needs to be discussed. We're going to talk about the most influential directors ever in our timeline in terms of how they influenced us and whatever. And each of us here are going to give our top 10 on who, in a way, influenced us the most or how do we look at it in every way. But joining me, I got Mr. Kevin Lambert from Entertainment Headquarters, Mr. Kaiju Sexiness right there. And below me, I got Mr. Anthony Jordan from Movies and Gaming. How you doing, Anthony? Doing all right?
Good.
All right. And joining us, I mean, he's done things before, but joining us here for the first time on anyone's channel on YouTube, Mr. Nenad Lincoln, if I'm pronouncing the right name right, the last name right. I mean, but introducing yourself here, sir. Thank you for coming on because this is a treat for me because you are like the most sought out person to join a podcast. And go figure, it
Yeah,
was me, Sexual
yeah.
Chocolate, that got you
It's
first.
it's like getting blood out
Yeah,
of a stone to get this man on a fucking podcast.
yeah, and it's an honor. My name is Ninat Lucic. I'm from Berlin, Germany, and it's a very big honor for me to join this podcast because it's a dear topic of mine. What is an influential director? So sorry for me when I'm in the stream. I'm German, so my English is a little bit wacky. So I wrote a lot of stuff down and look out when I'm reading some stuff. So and when I pronounce something wrong, don't give me some heat. I try my best and. I wrote an intro for me. So it's when we talk about the most influential directors in film history, it really depends on what you mean by influence. You can look at who changed the language of cinema, who developed new ways of storytelling, who shaped visual styles, and or who changed film as industry and as a part of popular culture. For me, the only way to this makes sense is to consider all of these things together. So it's not about who made the best films
Okay.
or who is my favorite director. This is a list of people who are building the foundation of the movies we have today. And for me,
Yeah,
it's important to honor these people. Um, and that's why maybe some of you don't know the name. If you're interested in these people, they are very interesting and they have a very interesting history. Go to Google, Wikipedia, their name, and you can find out what they are about. Because without these people, we wouldn't have the cinema we have now. There are maybe your favorite director is influenced by this guy. I tried to make a list where I did some examples about why I picked number 10, why I picked number 5, and I tried to do some examples into who this person influenced and in what movie you can see the influence of the of my number top 10. And then maybe when we have enough time, I can give you some anecdotes about some directors, what they did. There's a very interesting fact about Hitchcock. So Maybe I will talk about this later.
Okay. Well, before we get started, let me go into the group chat here, and we got Mr. Jake Hall here. What's up, Jake? And how you doing? And we got someone named Red Spirit 101. What's up? And I see he's got she's got. I don't know if it's a he or she. Sorry if I don't know. But you got a list right here, and that's a pretty stacked list right there. That's
He was well. Whoever it's a he or she was well prepared.
yes, very.
Yeah, it's a Red Scorpion. It's a great list. But I hope you will see the people I have on my list and check them out.
Well,
it's a really great list.
Well, I believe all of our lists are going to be pretty decent because look here, this right here shows how we're so influential to others, because we are this particular group, So that's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse when it comes to talking about this. So let's get it going here with this. Like I say, I think Nina pretty much said it all, the ones who have kind of really got us going, who have really influenced the world we see in film, and just go from there. But what we're going to do is we're going to start from 10 and just kind of, and I know some people may not have it like in a category in terms of starting with 10 up to 1, but we're going to start it like that and just work our way up. So from then on, let's start with Mr. Neenan and give us your number 10, sir.
My number 10 is Alice Guy Blash, the mother of fiction. So, sorry, I wrote it down. In 1985, pioneers saw film as science. Saw magic. She was the world's first female director. While men were documenting trains, she invented narrative cinema. She proved that film can create an artificial world instead of just describing reality. She experimented with the chronophone as early as 1906 and early sound synchronization systems. So she used the chronophone with film so that the sound is synchronized, and she also did colorization in for movies, and she was the first woman who was the leader of a big movie studio called Solex.
Okay. Was she German, or I'm assuming she was German?
No. Yeah, I guess she's German, and like a lot of big movie guys are from Germany. So and she influenced a lot of people like Greta Gerwig, sorry when I butcher names, Yorgos Lanthimos, and Wes Anderson. And the influence of Wes Anderson used the stage like flatness of the never seen viewer. So she used the cameras, like she was the first one who said movies don't have to be realistic. They can be unrealistic. So with big stages, and that's why she influenced Greta Gerwig. Did you guys saw the movie Barbie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The first scene, the big colorization, everything, the over the top stuff, like in a fantasy world. That's the influence of her into the movies. So movies didn't have to be realistic anymore. So it could be fiction, like we know it today.
That's interesting. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're talking about someone who just didn't was a director, but kind of refined it in that way, and I feel like that's brilliant.
Okay, that's unironically that's gonna pair when we get to mine. That's gonna pair perfectly with my number 10.
Okay, well,
and Did you guys saw the movie Poor Things?
No.
I haven't seen that one. No.
That's the perfect example of what she did. The world creation, the over the top non-realistic worlds. What we love. So the bright colors, and so that you know it's not realistic. You will never see this kind of stuff in the real world, because it's so over the top, and that's the foundation of a lot of movies.
Okay. Well, hey,
That's why I put her on the 10th spot.
10th spot. Okay. Hey, like I say, at least you are doing that, Nina, in terms of what you feel strong about, and that's why I'm saying I'm glad that you're here, because I want to hear each one of yours take on who really, in some, not so much affected you, but kind of affected, like I say, the film industry in terms of like how we see things. And like I say, what Nina was talking about, she kind of refined that, and it affected films like Barbie, which I'm not too much of a big fan of, but I still watched it. I mean, it's like it's got its points, it's got its good points, But that's here and there to say that. Go ahead.
That's at the end. That's what I was trying to say. It doesn't mean that you have to like the movie, but you can see the absolute influence she did on the movie. Without her, maybe we wouldn't have a Greta Gerwig Barbie movie.
Okay. But you don't have to like a film, but you can respect the craftsmanship that went into the movie.
Yeah, and there's a lot.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. It's if you like it or not, you have to respect the effort they put into the movie, and respected the past, because without the past we wouldn't have the future.
I said it better myself, brother. No matter German, American, and otherwise, that's how it is. But let's go on to Anthony Jordan, and what's your number 10, sir?
Okay, for my number 10, a lot of directors can be said they redefined a genre, but not every director can be said that they birthed a genre. However, my number 10 choice, Robert Wine, who directed The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, directed what many film historians consider to be the first true horror movie. So if you're talking influential, this is the man that birthed an entire genre that now has subgenres, and even the style of how he filmed it, going in with Needham's pick, he was all about the German expressionistic style. So you would have doorways that were these odd shapes, the same thing with windows. Shadows would be painted onto the floors of the set, and it just was a style that did not look like it was set in the real world. And when you look at the catalog of films of directors like Tim Burton, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but I can still respect his technique in his camera work, the weird shapes and stuff he incorporated into his film, that goes back to Robert Wine in films like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. So not just birthing the horror genre, but showing that films don't have to always look realistic, that things can look off-center and bizarre, and that not only could it make a more interesting film to look at, but enhance the atmosphere. Because if you haven't seen The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, I challenge you to watch that movie. It's a very fascinating and even complex movie. It might be the first twist ending in film history, and the movie also feels like a fever dream, and I mean that in the best possible way. So yeah, for all those reasons, Robert Wine is easily my number 10.
Wow. See, this is what I'm talking about. Go ahead, Nina.
Yeah, that's great, because definitely he's absolutely influential, and you can see in his work the ground that Alice Guy Blash did. So like Tim Burton, it's magically working together. Every director is picking some of the stones and built their own inspiration, and
Yeah.
they take something out of this toolbox, take something out of this toolbox, and put it together, and you have a absolute great movie, like he said. And if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's brilliant. And some movies of today cannot hold up against this movie.
And for those watching at home, we made our lists completely independent of one another.
Mhm.
So it's just one of those perfect coincidences that both our number 10s kind of fit into the same box like that.
Which is brilliant. But no, it's good hearing this input, because, like I say, I like to hear each individual's knowing of this has to be not just random. It's something like you really have to dig deep into what you feel about what this director has done, whether it be male or female, and hopefully they in a way shape the world that we see around us. Well, with that being said, Mr. Kevin Lambert, what is your random number 10? And should I fill up the pick here for you? Or
I would put it up when I'm finished,
okay, then cool.
because then it'll showcase the one I will select.
Gotcha. That's
Because if you put it up beforehand, people will know who's on it.
okay. That means save the surprise for later. There you go. But what's your number 10, though?
So at number 10, I wouldn't say he's a recent director, but he's a well-known director, and it is none other than John Carpenter. So John Carpenter, he revolutionized horror and sci-fi in the 1970s and 80s. He also created the final girl kind of trope in film. He also created the Steadicam for tension scenes in films, which, there are other directors that did it, but he did it in a way that it became the go-to way of doing that. He also, he inspired directors like James Gunn, the Duffer Brothers, and he also in the 1970s created a genre of movie scores, which was called, if I've got this right, it was called the electronic score. He memorized electronic scores, defining a generation of genre filmmaking. And, if me and Anubis, DJ Anubis, who's been in the chat, we've just finished doing a review of Assault in Precinct 13, the original John Carpenter one.
I was just thinking about that too.
Yeah, we did that earlier today, and I had never seen it. And then the first thing that stood out to me, black screen, and you hear the score. It's so simple, minimalistic, but it gets you. And then the screen goes to the first shot of the movie, and it immediately grabbed it. So he, for me, is a director that is great at putting a movie, what you're seeing on screen with the music surrounding it. And it can be so simple. Like, we all know that shot in Halloween when you see the shot of the mask. You hear the Halloween score, and you just see it walking around, and then you see the first murder, and then you get the shock, and it's revealed to be this young boy, this young Michael Myers. He created tension using the Steadicam motion with the music. And for me, that is why he is my number 10.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's so funny, Kevin, that you mentioned it, because that's what I'm trying to say. The influence on Kevin's number 10, it's totally different to the approach I did, because my approach is the foundation, and he took an example of a master who worked with this foundation perfectly, like he said, with the Steadicam. Without Garrett Brown, who used it, who used the Steadicam in Rocky 1 for the first time. And Sylvester Stallone was convinced by Garrett Brown with the Steadicam. So it's a foundation and building process with Garrett Brown, other influences, and then you have John Carpenter, who used the techniques in a perfect way, and you sit there. That's why I'm saying the foundations are the very important stuff. If you know your foundations, you can make great movies. If you ignore the foundation, the movie will be not good.
True.
And that's a very good example of a person who is using the foundation perfectly and knows how to work around it. And John Carpenter, it's absolutely, I love it.
Well, that's brilliant. Before we go any further, let me share this with us. This something DJ Anubis shared. He's given his top 3, and John Carpenter is in there. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And I see another one in there that's in there. And that's kind of good.
Oh,
seem like
Anubis. Anubis, I when we come to the end of the stream, and I hope you are still there, I made a special. I made a special section just about Christopher Nolan, and perfect. So I hope we can talk about it, and maybe you are still in there, and glad you're here.
Yes. Well, to go on from y'all's into mine, and he's saying nice. That's what I like.
Nice.
Nice.
You did that perfectly. That's good. My number 10. Now it might be. We was mentioning something about controversial as far as saying, but it's not because of what he is. It's how his style is. This is Mr. Spike Lee, and if anyone knows this director, yes, he's very controversial. But I'm not looking at him for what his ethnicity is.
It not funny, Neen? Isn't it not funny? Sorry, Jedi Grand Vale. I mentioned Spike Lee to you yesterday.
Yes, I know.
He may not be the most likable person, but he knows how to tell a story.
And yes, that's the whole. But see, look, and it's something that Neenan said earlier. You don't have to like the person in general. You don't necessarily have to like the movies this person makes, but you have to respect the craft and how they make the films. And that's one of the things about his films that I find such a pleasure, because the first film he made was She's Gotta Have It. I didn't see that film until like years later, and it's a very artistic kind of avant-garde kind of black and white film, but I can see so many of the things that he does that are there that penetrates a lot of things that you have to read between the lines in terms of what you're looking at. I mean, if you ever see any of his films, whether it be Malcolm X or Black Klansman or some other films.
Black Klansman, Malcolm X is just
my favorite movie Spike Lee is what's the English word with
Do the Right Thing? Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing. Yes, that's the English title. Do the Right Thing. My absolute favorite movie.
And you know what? And see, this is why I say he's one of those people who have tackled not just comedy, but he's actually done and drama too. But he's done musicals. I mean, he did when he did the School Days. When I went to go see that, I was saying like, this is a very interesting way of doing a musical. I mean, it's set in a campus university style, and then it's like this. It blows out with this, old like 30s, 40s, basically golden Hollywood style musicals, but with a African American touch to it. But the thing about that always grabs me the most about his films is not just that. It's always this like, and if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. where he has the actors on like a platform, and the camera is following with him, with the characters, like they're not walking. It's like they're like floating across the screen there. And I find that so effective because it's showing that you don't have to necessarily be in that moment. It's kind of like what Nina said about it doesn't have to be so realistic. It has to like draw you in terms of where you're looking at, you know, and the way he does. And to me, he does it really effectively in Malcolm X and Black Klansman, because there's a moment where we see, you know, Denzel Washington's character as Malcolm X, you know, gliding while it's like, and it's at the near the end of the film, but you kind of get this kind of foreboding mode of feeling like there's something going to happen here. You know, you just don't know what it is, but it's letting you know it's like, okay, this is an effective moment where it's like, okay, this might be his final moments, but we don't know really for sure. And then for Black Klansman, where we see, which is it's kind of interesting because ironically, the person in that film is played by Denzel Washington's son. He and this other character actor, they're on that platform mode where they have guns in their hands and they're like pushing in. When I say pushing in, they're gliding towards the window. And lo and behold, I won't give away, but there's something dangerous going outside where they're looking at. But the end result is he is one of those controversial directors. He's very controversial. They ain't no guesswork in that. But his style of filmmaking is so great that I feel that it influenced a lot of these other directors, especially the Black ones like Ryan Coogler, the late John Singleton.
I was definitely going to say there, Ryan
Anthony
Coogler,
Fuqua.
especially when I seen Sinners, I could see Spike Lee's influence in that film.
Definitely.
And that's so funny because I love it so far because his number 10 works completely with my number 9. Without my number 9, Spike Lee couldn't do what he. There are some guys on my list where you know that Spike Lee couldn't do it without these guys. And I'm so happy when we come to my next guy on number 9, and the other guys who I have on my list. It's a perfect example, like I said before, like Spike Lee took the tools and mastered them. And that's what I said earlier, the foundation. And if you have people who work around the foundation so perfectly, like Carpenter or like Spike Lee's Grand Jedi Vale pick, that's why I say foundation. It's also with actors. If the actors don't know the foundation, they wouldn't be so good. So, and that's the same with directors. And that's why I love, and that's a really good pick because without Spike Lee, maybe we wouldn't have Ryan Coogler or Anton Fuqua or or other directors, you know. And that's for me an influential director. Maybe he didn't invent the foundations, but he influenced. He was influential to another generation, like to Black directors or other directors, and the style. And it's absolutely great, and it's so perfect that the influential part, what everybody picks so far, is so different from everybody else, but intertwined, or how do you say it, are working so good together with each other that you see which director knows what he's doing, and you can see what director doesn't know what he's doing.
Oh yeah. And like I say, there's one that got on my list that you probably would disagree with, but we'll get there when we get there. But that being said, Nina, because you're speaking very passionately, and this is what I love. I would love knowing that you're giving your 1,000% with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
at the end, 1 second. At the end, we all four and everybody who's in the chat, we are here because we love movies. and we want to go to a cinema. We want to go in a cinema and sit there and be entertained and get into worlds where we cannot be. And we have enough shit right now outside of the world. I want to go into the cinema, sit there for 2 or 3 hours and have a great time. Want to get into worlds, if it's Pandora or if it's Tatooine or is it Philadelphia or is it no, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's to escape the reality, and that's why we love films. And
I went to the cinema today. Because there was a girl I work with. There was a birthday. Went out. 3 went for a meal, and then they wanted to go see that Project Hail Mary with Ryan Gosling. And I was like hesitant whether to go, but I seen the reviews and I actually went in very hesitant, actually left feeling great. So and I think I'm going to say this, save your cinemas. Save cinema.
Yeah.
Not streaming, save cinema. So before I'm just going to say this. I am somebody, if I'm sitting at home and I'm watching the television and I'm on streaming, and watching a program on Netflix, Paramount Plus, whatever. If it doesn't grab me straight away, what's the first thing I'm going to do? Pick up my phone and play.
Yeah.
But when you're in a cinema, you can't do that. You have to take in the world that's being presented to you on the screen.
Yep.
And that's what I love. That's what I miss. And that's what people are now losing.
And what I have to say, maybe it's controversial, but I hate, sorry that I use the word hate, it's when people tell me that movie wasn't realistic enough. I don't go in a fucking theater to watch a realistic. When I want to watch realistic stuff, I watch a documentary or the news. I want to see worlds that don't exist. I don't care if you have a 9-shooter and you kill a guy with a 9-shooter 60 times. I don't care about it. I don't want to see any realistic. I want to have a good time. So don't go into a movie and search for realistic stuff. It makes no sense. It's just, for me, it makes no sense. I don't care. When James Bond is jumping out of a helicopter without a parachute and dives into an open plane, I don't care. I want to see it because it's fucking James Bond, and I don't care if it's realistic or not. Oh no, you cannot do this because when the pressure of the airplane is there, he will be sucked in. I don't care. Sorry for this little rant, but I had to say it. If you want realistic in a movie, go watch a documentary.
When I'm watching something like Gettysburg, which is supposed to be historically authentic, then I'm going to be a stickler about my realism. But when I pop in Die Hard, I want to see John McClane jump off the building and go through the window, even if the physics of that don't make sense.
Yeah.
For me, I go through ebbs and flows. It depends on the mood I'm in. So, for example, if I'm in the mood for something serious and realistic, I'll watch, say, Saving Private Ryan or Schindler's List, which is very dark, but it's historically about something that. But then if I've had a hard day at work, and because I work in hospice care and it's very tough, and I don't want to think, I'll put a Godzilla film on, and my mind will drift away, and I'll just get me popcorn and forget about it. Marvel, Dune, whatever, James Bond, I don't care, and it will take me to the world, to this place, far from me own, and I'm gonna have fun.
Yeah, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. It's okay if you have a biopic or if you have a realistic based on true stories, then I want realistic. So when I watch a Godzilla movie, I don't sit there and say, oh, there are two guys in a puppet suit, in a Muppet suit or in a puppet suit who are fighting. I see Godzilla and Mecha Godzilla. I don't see two actors in a puppet suit. I don't care if they're in a puppet suit or not. I see Godzilla versus Mecha Mechagodzilla. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I don't care. You know, I want to. I'm invested in the scene, not who is in there. So, and then we come now to number 9, right?
Yes,
And
because
for me, that fits so perfectly. For me, number 9 is George Lucas,
okay.
and because he's so influential, not even that, not just he influenced the whole pop culture. He influenced also the whole merchandise stuff we are having. He 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 influenced the way how we can watch movies now with Industrial Light and Magic. Like you said with Spike Lee, without the Dykstra flex, he and Dykstra invented, you wouldn't see this motion flying around, like this motion around people, or you cannot see the example when you see the when you see Luke Skywalker flying to this little hole where he shoots and destroys the Death Star. Like without these motions and without these camera angles, maybe there wouldn't be a flying around persons like in the Spike Lee movies. Or what else? He invented the sound like we hear with THX, like what was a movie of him, and he invented so much stuff that are fundamental. Right now in the movies, even without him, we wouldn't have the Marvel movies. And like I had here some examples with George Lucas. Here the anecdote: the film, the Star Wars Trench Run. He had to program the camera to repeat movements with millimeter precision, the burst of digital effects, and the digital here in the final battle scene, hundreds of digital layers interact perfectly with real actors through Lucas' logic of computer-controlled camera movement in the final scene of Avengers Endgame, or James Cameron's visual use, the motion tracking technology like we see in Mandalorian they use. It's all based on George Lucas. That's why I put George Lucas on number 9 as an influential person, because without him we wouldn't have the cinema, the blockbusters like we have now, and the CGI effects compared with the special effects, like the how do you say it in English? When they build stuff like they built the Death Star, they built practical effects. Yeah, with the practical effects,
miniatures and overshares and
that's why. And he's also visionary because he saw the potential of merchandising and gave up a lot of his salary just to get the merchandise.
Well, Snow, what he did is he took so much salary from the studio, and he gave the studio, even though it was produced by Lucasfilm, it was distributed. And then what he said is right, because the studio had no faith in the film. So what he did is he said, right, you can keep the majority of the profits, just give me salary, but I'll keep the merchandise rights. Star Wars blew up and the studios screwed up because he made more money off merchandise than the studio did off film. It's also a blessing and a curse, because what happened after that, studios realised they screwed up. So after that, any other film studio that released any film, it's all more so about the merchandise, because that is why George Lucas is a billionaire. Not just because of the success of Star Wars, but because of the merchandise he's continued to put out there since the release of them films and anything else. But I also think it's a detriment to George Lucas, because he's produced Indiana Jones. But if you look at his list of movies he's released as a director, the main things he's worked on, Star Wars. So I do think as much as it was a blessing, and yes, he's influential, I do think it was a curse as well to him, because I feel as if he was put in a box.
Yeah.
I can only do Star Wars, or I can only do Indiana Jones, or I can only do this. And that's fair enough, but then he just started collecting the checks off every puppet of Indiana Jones, or for every, Boba Fett figure that was sold, he was making money off. So it's a blessing and
So he was ahead of his time, and that's why I put him as an influential director, because he influenced so many people afterwards. With what he invented, or what he and his team invented, and he's the great mind behind all the stuff. And it wouldn't be right. I wouldn't put him on my list. And why I put him on spot 9 is because the people who are below, not below, on the other places are more influential, in my opinion, than he. But he's a really, really big influential. If you like him, if you like Star Wars, if you don't like Star Wars, if you don't like anything, it's okay. But you cannot deny the influence he did on how we watch movies nowadays.
Even my favorite science fiction franchise of all time, Mobile Suit Gundam, from a lot of mobile suits that would use beam sabers as their melee weapons, which is basically a lightsaber. We probably wouldn't have had that without George Lucas. And these evolved humans known as new types, which are psychic, and again, it's something we might not have had without the concept of Jedi being introduced in the original Star Wars. So he clearly influenced, at least to some degree, even my favorite science fiction franchise. So great choice.
Like, I've got a lot of respect for George Lucas. I think he's an amazing, what he's done, what he's created, what he's branded out. But I also think what he did was damaged the industry, because it's like, I just look at movies now sometimes, especially the big Hollywood studios, the machine of Hollywood. It's not always about the quality of the movie that you put out, but the quantity of the movie and the profit you can make off a movie, instead of putting all of what Neenan's mentioned, all these amazing techniques, the amazing thing that is filmmaking into a movie. And for me, Sinners is the perfect example of a movie that it had the studio backing, but the director was allowed to do what he wanted to do, and he told a beautiful story with so much different techniques and lighting and all that. And it wasn't about, right, you're creating a vampire movie, how much money do you think we're going to make? Like, let's face it, MCU, the first 10 years were the best years of movies. But since the first 10 years, they've put out a lot of crap. I'm going to be honest. And it's about selling the toys, selling the next lunchbox, selling the next pencil case. It's aimed at a certain audience, young kids, the die-hard fan, which is fine. I have no issue. But I sometimes think with Hollywood, it's not always about making a good movie, but it's about making a profit on the merchandise.
It was the proverbial double-edged sword. Yeah, it can be an effective weapon. A double-edged sword will cut going in and coming out. But if you're not careful, one of those edges is also facing you, and you can just as easily cut yourself with it.
Yeah, and like George Lucas created that. As much as it was a great thing he's done, and I respect him, I love the original trilogy, love Rogue One, which was made by Gareth Edwards. But without Star Wars, so much would not have been influenced, not just films, not just characters, not just certain aspects of filmmaking, but it also changed the Hollywood machine, just like Steven Spielberg created the summer blockbuster movement.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying at the beginning with the Hollywood studios. it's it. I sorry when I repeat myself.
No,
When
no,
you
it's fine.
respect the when you respect the foundation that these people before George Lucas, before Steven Spielberg, before Guillermo del Toro, before John Carpenter, when you respect their foundation and work with this foundation and do a movie and you put your love into the movie and you respect, like, sorry for repeating, the foundation, the basics into the movie. My belief is when you do this, you cannot do a bad movie.
I can say very passionately said, brother. I mean, I love that, and this is why I say this is why the reasons why I'm glad you guys are on here, because you're not talking from a fan base, you know, of this, saying what you're saying. You're saying this from a very passionate way of how it affects you, because how else you going to be affected? Because let's be honest, the list I'm pretty sure you guys made didn't come easy, didn't come overnight. It was something that you had to really like dig deep into and say that this is what I want to pick. So, but like I say, we're going to move on and go to Anthony. And what's your number 9, Anthony?
My number 9 is not just very influential for his filmography, which without him, we would not have John Carpenter's The Thing and Scarface, but for what he did for dialogue in motion pictures, because look at how we are talking and how we've been talking in this live stream. Even though one of us is mainly talking about something, someone every now and then, and there's nothing wrong with it, it's just natural, interjects and adds something to it. And that's what Howard Hawks did for Tony. That's what Howard Hawks did for dialogue in filmography. He introduced a more fast-paced, overlapping dialogue. A good example is in The Thing from Another World, towards the end when they're trying to lure the thing into a trap. The reporter's talking about, this reminds me of the first execution I ever covered. He's asked, so you get any pictures of that, Scotty? Well, no, but one guy, Geiger counter's going up, and he just completely cuts him off, and we never get the conclusion to that story. And just for the way he approached dialogue in motion picture alone, making it feel more natural, making it feel more frenetic, not this actor says his line, then this actor, then this actor. He looked and said, no, this isn't how people really speak. This is how people really speak, and he put it into film. He also directed my favorite Western of all time in Rio Bravo, which
I was going to say Rio Bravo.
Which, ironically, Kevin talked about this one recently. John Carpenter remade it with Assault on Precinct 13. Also, The Thing from Another World, even though he's not credited, Howard Hawks co-directed that. We wouldn't have John Carpenter's The Thing from Another World, or even John Carpenter as a director, because he was influenced by Howard Hawks. And the 80s classic Scarface, which the original Scarface was also directed by Howard Hawks. And if you haven't seen the original, watch it. You're going to feel like you can, because all the major beats of the 80s version with Pacino are in that original movie. So if we're talking most influential
he
director,
definitely influenced Martin Scorsese, 100%.
Sure.
Listen, you have to have Howard Hawks if you're talking most influential directors of all time.
Okay. See, and that's what I'm talking about. See, you would never know about. I mean, I know about Howard Hawks, but you never really think about it until it's like, well, this is someone who's younger than me, who's influenced by this particular person, And that's what I'll say. It's like you can't say that good art is going to die out permanently until you realize, like, if there's someone later in the generation who's affected by this, it's like, okay, there may be some hope, but it's something that Nina said before, and even Kevin said, Hollywood is, what the fuck are y'all doing with art? What are you doing with the film? It's like y'all don't give a fuck about the artistry of what you're producing. It's like you're just saying, as Kevin said, all you want to do is make a buck out of it. It's like, and there you go. And it's like the trash of it is that's the conundrum. You want to make money, but you don't want to keep the art that's presented to you. But anyway, Kevin, number 9, sir. What is your number 9?
Sorry, one second. With Howard Hawk, sorry that I interfere. With Howard Hawk, it's a very great spot. But when we come later to one of my guys, please remind me that I don't forget it. That I will go back to Howard Hawk because I cannot talk about it now. But when we come to my second place, then we have to talk about Howard Hawk again.
Okay. All right, no problem. Yeah, it's like I say, it adds on to the as I put it like this, it adds on to the flavor of the moment. So that makes sense. But Kevin, what is your number 9?
So my number 9 is Stanley Kubrick.
Okay.
And he, for me, he revolutionized cinema through unparalleled technical innovation, meticulous attention to detail, and it's how, what does it say here? And he also detailed and genre-defining approach that redefined filmmaking. So obviously, his impact is with 2001: Space Odyssey, The Shining. There's so much more. He was difficult, I know, to work with.
That's what I heard. I don't know how accurate
But it's because he was so passionate in what he believed as a filmmaker and what he did as a filmmaker. And he, for me, is parallel to like John Carpenter in the fact that John Carpenter, for his time, did what he did in the 80s and the 90s to influence movies and filmmaking. And for me, so did Stanley Kubrick. His attention to detail, to film it, like the lighting, or in The Shining, like the effects of when the doors open and the blood fell from the elevators. Certain scenes, he wanted certain camera angles. He would get the actors to rehearse and redo the scenes over and over. He could do 40 takes of a simple scene because it was about getting it, perfectionized for the screen.
He was basically a perfectionist, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
right?
He's a perfectionist of a director, but his impact and his feel is still felt today. Quentin Tarantino, I think, has been inspired by him in certain aspects of his films. So he is why he's my number 9.
Okay. Well, before we go any further, let me give a shout out to Mr. Danny Millier, and he's saying this.
The Professor.
Yes, the Professor. This was actually quite forward-thinking, as previous movie performers back then solely focused on the lead. Yes, that's true, and I've noticed that with not just with him, but another director, Steven Spielberg. He does this very well, where you have the foreground actors or performers talking, but you also have people in the background giving dialogue that you might not necessarily hear, but you can hear a little bit of it, the nuance, and say that, okay, that's what they're saying, and it's kind of a feedback, and they're like, this is a natural way of how the world works.
Hey, Walter, we also have Matt in the chat.
Do we? Okay, I didn't even, I would look them. What's up, Matt? I mean,
quite a lot of amazing people watching the stream tonight.
Yes,
thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much. Well,
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yes, but I'm going to name my number 9, although it's been mentioned before, and I kind of definitely agree, but I'm going to add a little bit more. Number 9 is John Carpenter, and I'm going to tell you right now, John Carpenter, for lack of a better word, he didn't just do, and I think, thankfully, he wasn't those kind of directors that got pigeonholed into just doing horror. He did other things other than that. Even though some of them may not be hitting home or anything like that, they still were different. He was somebody that, because like I say, when he did Halloween, you figure like, okay, he's just a horror director. It's like, no. Years later, he would do Escape from New York, which is a totally different thing against the grain of what he did. You know, it's showing that he's taking something that's kind of simplistic, but at the same time, it's kind of drawing you into like real world situations. Because if you look at the climate now, it's it's questionable at best. And as we mentioned before, how Howard Hawks was how influenced John Carpenter. If you look at is it the first one or the second one, where you actually see the title of the movie, The Thing from Another World? I think it's the second one. I'm not for sure. I could be wrong.
First one. The second one, it was The Night of the Living Dead.
Okay, I've got to say I knew it's one of those two. Was it the first one? Not. But anyway, to see him remake A Thing from Another World, and I have to be honest with you, when I first heard them doing a remake of this film, I mean, I'm 12 years old and everything like that. I'm like, why would they remake this film? I mean, why would you do that? But when I actually got to see the film and realized, like, oh, he's taking his own take on it, and you get a much more, paranoid kind of very just like isolated, very cold kind of feel, and it's like, this is something totally different that I wouldn't expect from John Carpenter. He's really grabbing you with his artistic flair and presenting something like, okay, we know what's going. We know what the main antagonist is, but at the same time, who is the antagonist? You have no idea.
The funny thing is, I almost put John Carpenter on this list, but I just had a hunch a few of you were going to put him on here, so I'm like, let me cycle someone else in just to mix it up a bit.
Hey, it wouldn't have been no problem if you put him in, but and again, this brings me back to saying and something like Nina said, everyone's list is unique, it's totally different. It's not something that's supposed to it's like, oh, you pick this person, you got this. It's like, no, it's supposed to show your individuality. You're supposed to know what you feel about this.
I like what Dan said about Christine by Carpenter.
Oh, wait a minute. I was just gonna say that. Yes, yes. And I was going to tell you another one, but I mean, I think you beat me to the punch. But I mean, Christine is. But I was going to mention Starman, which is totally something different that I would not expect John Carpenter to direct. But that proves that he's not just touching on sci-fi or horror. He's actually touching on something that's actually grabs you in terms of the story, because Starman is basically a love story if you think about it. And it really tells you the story of a widowed woman who lost her husband recently. He's resurrected by this alien force. And, we go through the motions of we find out that she can't have kids, but she eventually gets pregnant. And like I say, it's a melee of things, but it shows right there that John Carpenter is not one-sided when it comes to doing something. And I'm glad that he, like so many other directors, did not let themselves get forced into kind of like, unfortunately, like Ashura Honda got pushed into something where it's like, that's the only films that person can do. They can do other amazing things. But again, it proves right there how Hollywood, or just the film cycle, the film engine works. It's like, well, you're good at this, stick to that. It's like, no, I can do other things. Let me do this. But again, that's just hearsay, So, but before we go any further, let me get Tony of the Dead here. He's saying this. Oh, thank you, brother. I mean, hey, look, thank you. I mean, it's a work in progress, but hey, everyone sees
hard work pays off all that, and you're doing absolutely amazing. I couldn't be prouder of you.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, and see, another thing, and can I just say before we go any further, yes, The Fog is a very underrated film. I mean, it's horror, but it's so much more. And They Live is another example of what I'm talking about, taking something and really making it their own, And if you know that it was knowing that They Live came out in the 80s during the Reagan era, well, I won't go into too much dialogue on that, but you already know that at that time it was such a clusterfuck of things going on. So that's the thing.
And let's be real, without They Live, we don't have everyone's favorite part of Godzilla X Kong.
See, right? Yes. Strong. Thank you, y'all. I mean, I appreciate y'all.
Oh,
Yes. But
Tony, I had pizza today with the girls. That was
yes.
it.
5 of them, wasn't it, or was it 4? Yeah,
It was meant to be 5. It ended up being 3.
3. Oh, well, hey, you got more women than I did.
hey, Tony of the Dead. I'm very, very curious. What do you think about my guys I have starting from number 5? I'm totally curious what you say, Tony, because you are. I think you're absolutely familiar with these guys.
Well, we got Jake in
Jake!
the house saying exactly what we expect him to say.
What
because-
the heck?
Yeah. No, but I'm pretty sure he'll kind of agree with you on that, Nina, what you're feeling, because now that we're at number 8, give us your number 8, Nina, and just like you're doing already, give your passionate, feel about
Number
it.
8.
Yes.
My number 8 is, without him, there would be no Star Wars, there would be no John Wick, there would be no Sergio Leone, there would be nobody. And what you guys guess who it is?
Akira Kurosawa.
Yes, he's on my number.
God,
He's
yeah.
number 8.
Okay.
He's my number 8. And so sorry, I have to read it because I wrote something. I place Akira Kurosawa at number 8 because his influence shows that film history was not shaped only in Europe or Hollywood, but developed internationally. In films like Seven Samurai or Rashomon, you can see style of storytelling that was later adopted in many different countries. The idea of showing the same event from multiple perspectives or combining action with strong characters, drama became important for many genres that followed. His influence is also very visible because many well-known Western films were directly inspired by his work. Westerns, adventures, film, and even science fiction have repeatedly borrowed ideas that can already be found in Kurosawa's film. While Lucas mainly shaped modern cinema as an industry, Kurosawa's influence is stronger in the way stories are told and directed. That is why I placed him at number 8, because his impact is worldwide and still clearly present today. That's what I wrote about Akira Kurosawa.
Nearly every major film director has got some sort of influence from Akira Kurosawa, including George Lucas,
Spielberg, for sure.
Another huge one that always brings him up in conversation is Quentin Tarantino. Like, if you look at, for example, Kill Bill, you can clearly see the influence from his movies in that film.
And another director that could easily fit on this list, John Ford. Him and Kurosawa kind of traded influence back and forth over the years.
Nina, you would have loved last year, because last year, us 3, including Anubis, and I can't remember who else, it might have been there. Dan Miller.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We did the Akira Kurosawa special.
You would have loved it.
Sorry.
Oh, you good. You're good. No, you would have enjoyed that, because, like I say, we took like 4 films, right? And just kind of talked about them and just talked about the style of them, because they were samurai films and how they were and like I say, those films, yeah, and like Nina said, one particular influenced Star Wars. I mean, how would you not get Star Wars without the great Kurosawa?
Yeah, and look, you had of course, you had the Seven Samurai, then you had the Magnificent Seven, which is like a terrible version of the Seven Samurai.
I wrote something down, just called for me what I was writing down. So number 1, George Miller used Kurosawa's principle of center framing in the middle of the chaos that viewers' eyes remain fixed in the center. Then I have John Wick 4. Um, the top-down sequence is pure geometry, like Kurosawa's. Stahelski arranged his fighters like pieces on the action remains readable. And then I'm come to Quentin Tarantino. The battle at the House of the Blue Leaves in Kill Bill uses Kurosawa's method of color coding as a visual score, and that's why I find it so interesting. I cannot say it enough. It's how diverse this list is and how influential these guys have been for you, and it's amazing because I my thoughts also was on Hawk or Carpenter or Kubrick or Ridley Scott, but then I was saying, okay, who influenced them? Because I cannot give Stanley Kubrick credit because Stanley Kubrick is influenced by somebody um, who did it for him because I cannot give him the credit because without this guy Stanley Kubrick couldn't do this. And but I find it very, very interesting the choices you guys make. And I had to I was really struggling with my top 10.
Hey, but that's okay. Let's see, because I'm thinking I was in that conundrum myself, Nina, because I knew that's exactly how I felt. You know, it's like who. I mean, we got some of the most current directors that are hot and they really know their craft. But it's like who influenced these guys to get them to where they're at? To hone in their skills. But it's the chain is not broken. It's just that more is enveloped with that. But with that being said, what is your number 8, Anthony, in terms of who is influential in your mind?
Well, Mr. Tony of the Dead's going to appreciate this one a lot. A man who redefined a genre and gave birth to a new subgenre of horror in George A. Romero, starting with the original Night of the Living Dead, which shocked audiences for the time, and it's very quaint now, but if you go into it with kind of the mindset that nothing like this was seen before and you watch the movie, you can understand how shocking it was, plus how he interjected social commentary into his films, which would only intensify with my favorite zombie film, the original Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. The way he introduced camera work and even his approach to the violence on screen and how he would film it, we wouldn't even have games like Resident Evil today if it wasn't for George A. Romero. We wouldn't have the zombie genre at all and the billions of films that have since flooded the horror franchise about it with George Romero. So for his original Dead trilogy alone, I absolutely have to put him on the list.
Okay. I mean, and you know what? I don't think Romero gets enough credit sometimes with that, because he's a very, and I think he has passed away, right? Yeah, I'm sorry to say. But he left a mark like so many other directors on the industry, and hopefully they did, which I know they're going to. They're trying to, take what he or any of these directors and try to say, let's do it differently. But no, let's try to make money out of it. It's like, dude, hone in the craft. Please do that,
I'll say this. We're talking about him and we always bring up stop remaking films. Why not, instead of, if you're going to remake a film, why not do something like take his original proposed script for the original Day of the Dead and actually make that film, because he couldn't make that film because of the budget, where now if you can make it with love and respect for the original, it wouldn't be hard to get the budget to translate that original script to film, just to kind of show this is what could have been.
And just
Agreed.
now you bring that up, Anthony. Just to ask you this question because you said the original script. Do you think the remake, the 2004, it's Data Dead. This is Dawn of the Dead, so that's totally different. So no, never mind. I was going to ask you about
I like the remake, but I'm going to say I don't have a copy of it on home video, but let's just say I do. Even though I like it, if I have a copy of both of them, 9.5 out of 10 times out of 10, I'm going to put the original Romero Dawn on.
Makes sense. Okay. Well, Kevin Lambert, sir, what is your number 8 as far as?
Well, this person.
And I think
I love his history. Mm-hmm. I love where he started, but I don't like the crap he puts out now. I'm talking about James Cameron.
I was going to say, it has to be Mr. Cameron.
Like, I'm a huge fan of James Cameron before Avatar. Mm-hmm. Before he decided, right, I want to, have the top 5 biggest billion-dollar franchises in the world instead of actually, like, this is the thing. I love Abyss, one of my favorite films. Terminator 2, amazing. All his everything from his 80s stuff up to his early 2000s stuff. Right. But then after that, switched off basically from Cameron, but you cannot deny the man's impact. A bit like what we've mentioned with George Lucas. Right. You cannot have him on the list without respecting whether you like his movies, just don't like his movies. You cannot deny the man's impact in film. I always remember seeing Abyss, being fascinated with it, and then the scenes with the, in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, the special effects were ahead of the time. But now for me, he's more about the box office than he is putting quality to storytelling over technology. I feel as if he puts his technology and his techniques into his filmmaking more than the story. Yes. And fair enough, you can sit in front of an Avatar movie and, like Enid said, you go to Pandora, it's beautiful. But if I don't know a single person who has left the theatre have watched the Avatar films and I've asked them 2 or 3 weeks after they've seen it, so what was it like? What was the story about? Who was your favourite character? And I get the same answer of every single person I've asked that question to. Can't remember.
And here's a question I'll ask to all of you. I'll start with you, Kevin. James Cameron, when did you feel that he just fell off the rails in terms of really strong storytelling?
For me, it was Titanic.
Okay. What about you, Nina? When do you think he fell off?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know if he fell off. I believe he didn't fell off. I think he went in a direction where he was all overwhelmed and didn't focus enough on that what he's capable of doing. And we have it sometimes that when we are in a zone and we focus on something, then we lose the track and we went into the little stuff like he did with the with Avatar 2 or 3, and I guess he was lost in the process and didn't focus more on the fundamentals like he did in Avatar 1. And
for me, it was more about building new technology for a new diverse audience in cinema. But at the end of the day, if you look at his movies, like all the Avatars. The only reason Avatar 1 made as much money as it done because it was the first film of its kind, first IMAX film, the first film to do something completely that nothing had been done before. Then when Avatar 2 and 3 had come out, I think the reason people weren't, not that they haven't made the money, but the reason people weren't clamming onto them and is excited for them is for the fact that it had been so many years since the first one. And even though you're going to those films and you're taken to this, I will not deny the man's talent for what he created. But beyond that, what else is there to the movies?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's when you in movies, if you focus on one part and you don't focus on the other part, something is not right. So, and that's the tough part. You have to focus on every part. You have to focus on the technique. You have to focus on the storytelling. You have to focus on the visuals. You have to focus on everything. If one part falls flat, all the whole building collapses. And that's a really tough task you can do. And I believe James Cameron started to shifting his focus more to technique than storytelling, or when he's trying to do storytelling, the technique is not so good. So it's a mix of everything. You have to work together that it's completely working. And I believe he's not concentrating on all aspects of a film, and he's trying to do too much instead of focusing on the simple stuff. That's why I'm not saying he fell flat. Don't get me wrong. The movies he's doing are technically very good, but story-wise, and for me, I prefer a good story over technique. But with a good technique, there is no good story. But the story, I think you have to work around the story, and then you can work around it. And I feel he forgot to work with the story and more on the technique. But the good thing about the technique is now these young directors and everybody can use this technique, and maybe they can connect them with a good story.
There's a line from Jurassic Park that perfectly describes the latter part of James Cameron's career. Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop and ask if they should.
And with that being said, well, like I said, I'm asking you, Anthony, when do you feel that James Cameron pretty much lost the strength of storytelling in your opinion?
I'd say Titanic was the end of it.
Yeah, and that's I'm gonna put my 2 cents and say that's exactly when I feel like, yeah, because Titanic was a strong film. You know, it's what it is, but I mean, it was still a strong story film. It was good character driven film, and
it was too long for what it was.
Well, you know, and that's the thing I always wonder. It's like, why is this so long? But then again, I didn't get bored by it. You know, that's the other thing. But
yeah, a movie. It's not a problem of the length of the movie. It's about the interest you put into the movie. I know a lot of females who said the movie is too short. They wanted more, and they went 2, 3, 4 times into the cinema and watching the movie because they loved the story. Maybe it's something different because for me, a movie can be 4 hours and it still is good. So it's like with the mind, you go into the movie. Maybe Titanic is not everybody's cup of tea, but what he did is a great story, and it's a great movie with some flaws, but and they fixed it. But like there's a great anecdote. I was watching Stream with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Neil deGrasse Tyson was telling James Cameron, "Yo, the stars in your movie at that particular time is wrong. So what did James Cameron do? There is a website where you can get the exact star sky, the night sky, and he put it in. He edited into the new version of Titanic. So now the night sky is exactly like it was when the ship went down in 1990, 1929 or 1912. Sorry.
No, that was okay.
That's a great story, but yeah, like when we have to be honest, it's after Titanic.
Okay. Well, like I say, I already gave my 2 cents, like I say, about Cameron. But for my number 8, we kind of hint at him, but I mean, he's actually on this list, and that is Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott is one of those directors that, at least for me, because the first film I ever saw of his was the first Alien. It'll never be, I mean, as far as when we're talking about Cameron's Aliens, although Alien is still a masterpiece in horror and science fiction.
Mhm.
When you see someone who is pretty much, working out of a plastic bag in terms of, getting not so much famous, but just trying to hone in his skills. When you see this original script put on screen, and there was a lot of, back and forth on how to get the technique and whatever, but the whole purpose of the film was a haunted house in space and how you're going to express it. He did something that most hadn't done before, or at least after. I mean, you could say some people kind of touched on it, like Event Horizon with Paul W. Anderson when he did that. It's kind of a little bit of hint of homage to that, but not as influential. But him doing that, then he doing Blade Runner and some various other films is very, what's the word that can best solidify what he does? It's more, I can't think of the word, but he's another director who's not pigeonholed, because he's done science fiction, but he's also done drama. He's also done things that you wouldn't expect him to do, like Thelma and Louise, a film that I thought was totally against the grain with him at first. But when you look at it, you realize that, no, this is just him telling a good story. And when you look at the story of Thelma and Louise, you realize, like, what's it all about? It's not so much about women empowerment. It's all about how females in general in society kind of get screwed over if they're put in a situation, and then it's like it's their word against others. And what's interesting about that movie is that, look at the times we live in now, and I'm not trying to get too controversial, but I'm not trying to get political with it, but look at the situation now. It's like everything a woman says about a man that say that's been done to him is taken as truth. Whereas back in the 90s, when this film came out, it was like, we don't believe any women, and that's just really Scott saying, I'm taking something and trying to hone in and make it something that we could say is basically a good story point, and hopefully people who watch it is grabbed to it, and like I say, like his brother, Tony, who unfortunately passed away. When I say passed away, I won't give the details. He was kind of like Tone. I mean, like, really, but I think he was more, I don't know, his directing style was a little bit different, but his older brother was, Ridley was just a little bit more, honed in terms of what he was doing. I'm not saying that Tony didn't have it, but I feel that really had a really nosh for the stuff that he was doing in terms of what he was directing and everything. So that's my number 8. And well, yeah, that's true. And yes, that's exactly it. That's the introduction to him, And what, you know what? I don't know why, but I figured he was going to go for that, Professor. Do the obvious, But no, like I say, Ridley Scott is my number 8, and like I say, for him, I know he was influenced by others, but I feel like he was one of those that started that whole genre of sci-fi, because you're taking two totally different genres and meshing them together, and well, that's what you get. That's what you get, and that's what I feel like he's one of the more influentials in my mind.
Can I just say, going back to what Daniel's just put about Prometheus and
I just noticed that, yes.
Covenant, I generally feel, this is just me, my opinion, I generally feel as he's seen what Cameron was doing, and he decided, right, I want to capture on what other filmmakers of my generation are doing, and going back to old properties and trying to do prequels or sequels. And I know that the director of, is it District 9?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he came up with this amazing retelling or a continuation from Aliens that bypassed Alien Resurrection, Alien 3, and was basically what happened with the Halloween franchise, where 2018 dismisses all of the previous films and goes straight from the first one. And his concept and idea was great, but Ridley Scott shot it down because he wanted to do Covenant and Prometheus. And now there's talk again, because he's now give up on it again, that I think the director of, I think it might be Evil Dead maybe, is talking about doing an Alien film. In Sigourney Weaver's had the script and said she's very excited and hopes it gets off the ground.
I don't know, because she's her, really, they're up in age now. I mean,
I feel like we were back when that one got canceled, she was still old enough where I feel like now we've crossed over that line.
Yeah. I don't know. We never know. I mean, knowing how Hollywood is, they are probably...
Well, it could be Ripley in a retirement home. Who knows? Yeah. It's the Golden Girls of Aliens.
That...
Hey.
Go ahead.
Stop. Sigourney Weaver can be 19 fucking years old and she will still kick ass. Remember Christopher Lloyd in Nobody Won, how he kicked ass? So Sigourney Weaver can kick ass of any alien, even if she is 19 years old.
Okay. Hey, well, you heard it from the German man. He knows it too well. well,
but who want to be embarrassed to be kicked his ass by a 90-year-old person?
I know I would.
Well, Christopher Lloyd also brought a lot of shotguns.
Yeah, it's a good argument in a fight.
Okay. Well, Neenan, since we're up, since we're having a good time here, what's your number? Because we're up to number 7. Yeah, number 7. Yes, number 7.
Number 7. For me, number 7 is Orson Welles.
Okay.
And that's what I wrote about him. I place Orson Welles at number 7 because his work shows how many possibilities of film language can come together at once. In Citizen Kane, techniques such as deep focus, unusual camera angles, and a non-linear narrative structure were used to consistently that they later became part of the standard vocabulary of cinema. Many of these techniques existed before, but with Welles, they are combined into a modern style that had a lasting influence on filmmaking. His influence lies in the idea that films not only about telling a story, but about how image, space, and structure work together to create meaning. Later director took this freedom as a starting point for their own work, while Kurosawa strongly influenced storytelling. Welles shows how powerful the visual construction of a film can be. That is why I placed him at number 7, because his impact is especially important in the formal development of cinema.
Okay.
And I have some remarks for him.
Yeah. Well, before you start, Nina, I just want to say you can skip me because my number 7 was also Orson Welles.
Okay.
Oh, great, Kevin. So I was writing something down. So in the movie Mank, David Fincher used extremely low angles to visualize power dynamic and make arrogance physically tangible. And in the movie There Will Be Blood, Paul Thomas Anderson uses extreme wide angles and depths of field to relate the man on his destructive work. And in Oppenheimer, um, in the interrogation room, you see Oppenheimer sharp in the foreground while his tormentors lurk just as sharply in the background. Well, deep focus. Without these techniques, that's what I'm saying. I was basically putting my list together on people who are the foundation. And you guys, what I love is you picked so great persons who are the masses of working with the foundations. That's and Orson Welles, great pick, Kevin.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put this out there now because this is gonna shock a lot of people. Because I'm a lover of film. I have to this day have not seen Citizen Kane.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. I mean, it seemed like that was
Okay.
It's not, in your defense, it's not the most readily accessible film out there.
well.
Mm.
Still, I have not seen
I'll
it.
be honest, I've only ever seen it twice. But
Oh,
when I seen it the first time, it was impactful.
okay, see, and that's what I'm talking about. See, that's the thing about it. I mean, not because of word of mouth, but I wanted to see it before its beauty in terms of what the storytelling. And I know Orson Welles was that individual who knew how to put whatever on film and just make it his. But yeah, I had to put that out there because it's like you bringing up such good stuff. Nina, it's like, okay, I need to just come out and say, oh, I haven't seen this film. you know, so
Like
Uh,
Orson
uh,
Welles was both a filmmaker and an actor. And do you know his last ever acting role is a voice actor in the animated Transformers movie? Is the voice of Unicron.
that was his last acting. Yeah, and isn't that kind of weird? Someone who's directed Citizen Kane and then in various other films was the voice of a Transformer. It's
He
crazy.
did the radio voice for War of the Worlds as well.
Yes, a very famous one. That's beautiful. See, so that's why I say, like I say, who could say he's not influential because he impacted the way. And the funny thing is, I didn't know he was a director until like I think years later. I mean, because I knew him as an actor in the 70s and 80s, but I wouldn't know him as a director until like maybe the tail end of the late 80s and 90s. I was like, really? He directed? It's like wouldn't know that. So
But yeah, something I'll add since I'm not going to talk about them when it
mhm.
gets to. You can go straight to number 6 for me after.
Okay.
Did you know he's very much passionate about independent directors as well? So
Yes. Yeah.
no, now if you think of here's an actor who I got a lot of respect for, Robert Redford, who we've lost. The Sundance Film Festival. He was a massive pioneer in that because he wanted to promote independent directors, not just the Hollywood big budgeted movies. He was all about influencing and getting new ideas, new revolutionary directors who might not have been given the opportunity through the big studio system. And so Robert Redford created, of course, the Sundance Film Festival. Well, Orson Welles, because he had quite a turbulent time in Hollywood, was always a fan of keeping his eye out at younger independent directors and giving them a helping hand at starting their careers. Now, that is something I also very much respected about Orson Welles
And
because, you know, you've got all you like you've got your Spielbergs, you've got all that, but before you become a Spielberg or a Martin Scorsese, you'll start off as say a Gareth Edwards who did television commercials, and then you make an independent low budget film called Monsters, and then you get the phone call, we'll give you a shot and let you make Godzilla 2014. You see, but you have to have the exposure, or you have to have people that see that work prior to getting the bigger jobs. And Orson Welles was a massive influence for independent actors. Independent directors, which not a lot of people knew about.
And I don't think most people know, well, I'm not going to say most people, but I know we know too well. That's another thing I didn't realize until I got older. Orson Welles is English. He's not from America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's one of the things.
That's why he was on my list.
See, well, that makes sense then. But going to number seven, Anthony, what is your number social director?
Well, keeping with pioneering directors, I'm going to have to go with one of the early pioneers of sound in cinema, in James Whale, who, among other things, gave us The Invisible Man, gave us Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. And they're films that are fascinating in that aspect, especially Frankenstein, to go and watch and see how new the technology to put sound on film was, that they didn't just clue in right away that we should add music to this, because the music was always added after the fact with someone playing music at the theaters, or even the change of directing to medium, because you had to have more grounded acting for the sound cinema, where to make up for lack of sound, you might see an over-exaggerated expression in a silent movie, and it works for that because they can't make sound to sell it, but to adapt and be like, we have to change how our actors act, how we tell the story, alone makes him influential. And even watch Frankenstein, then watch Bride of Frankenstein. Those two films feel like one movie, and it might be the earliest example in film history of a movie and its sequel that could actually feel like one just big movie. So in terms of most influential directors, yeah, I would have to put James Whale on the list.
Yeah.
Well, knowing that, I mean, and I'm wondering, now you say that, I'm wondering, was that the kind of niche with Quentin Tarantino when he did Kill Bill, because it is actually two films. I mean, one film just split in half, and knowing that you got one that's telling this particular side of the story, but then you have the other, it's like, okay, how do you see? I mean, how would you put them together in one cohesive, mesh? And fortunately, I got a chance to go do that recently. See Kill Bill, the whole origin, how it's called, but the whole two films,
the whole bloody affair.
Thank you, all together in one shot. And all I'll tell you is that seeing it like that, you see a different perspective of things that you didn't see before, with them two apart from one another.
What's more impressive about it being with Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein is that there was never going to be an intended sequel. Universal only wanted a sequel because of the success of Frankenstein. So to go into it and have it where both films could feel like one solid film when the sequel wasn't planned just makes it more impressive of a feat.
Well, that's incredible, I gotta say, really, when it comes to that kind of stuff, But Kevin, since you give your number 7, you want to elaborate more on it, or just
No, I think we've pretty much said it all.
Okay, then. Well, Mr. Orson Welles, great master of his craft, we give it to him. But for my number 7, and some may think this is, it's like he's actually on this list, but I mean, then again, it's like, how can he not be on this list? Mr. Martin Scorsese. I gotta say, this director, he's a very, what's the best word to describe him? I mean, he's just one of those directors, like I say, if you can't get into his films at all, then you're not going to get it at all. Because one thing about him is that he tells a story, but it's like, if you can't follow it, it's like, well, then it's not for you. That shows right there that he's getting into your mindset of what he's trying to tell. You know, I mean, because I think the first film that I saw of his, and I can't, I mean, I think it was After Hours, you know, with Griffin Dunn, and it's a comedy. You know, I mean, it's a comedy, but it's such a layered comedy of what this guy goes through one night, and he gets to all these shenanigans, but at the same time, the end result is he winds up back of what he started in the film, which is the so-called lifeless job. And it's like, okay, I went through a sort of hell state, but it's like, am I still in a hell state being at this stuck in job what it is, you know? And it makes me know that Scorsese is taking bits of stuff that people have done before, but making it his own. I mean, because like I say, and there's another director again, does not get pigeonholed into certain genres. I mean, he's done films with well, the likes of Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, he's done like 2 or 3 of them with him, but
Robert De Niro, Al
Niro,
Pacino, Joe Pesci.
yeah. And it's very gratifying that way he does things. It's sometimes he does nonlinear, you know, storytelling, you know, in terms of how to express things and everything. And I know recently some of the films he's done have been like damn near 3 or over 3 hours, like The Irishman, which is, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's like a little bit of an underrated film. I mean, I feel. I mean, maybe some would say it's overrated, but I think it's a pretty decent film because he's really telling a story about the Jimmy Hoffa situation and whatever, and talking about a story that we never imagined, you know. But and I think that's the whole purpose right there. He's telling stories where you don't realize that's what's being told, and that's another thing about him. He does kind of well, way before Deadpool and some other, you know, or even before. I mean, even before him, he was doing the fourth wall technique, like in God. I mean, not Godfather, but the Goodfellas. At the very end, there's a moment where he has Ray Liotta in the court, and he just gets off the chair and just starts doing this kind of melee, you know, about where he was and where he's at now, and blah blah blah. And like I say,
I'll be right back.
Okay, and he's done this several times, you know. I mean, with what's the remake of oh my god, what's the remake of with him and Robert De Niro and Nicholas, I mean not Nick Nolte, the film
Here.
yeah, the yeah, Cape Fear, yeah, thank you, Anthony. There's a moment where Robert De Niro literally breaks the fourth wall. He actually looks like he's like, I agree with you, you know, I agree with you, whatever you're saying, you know, that was very unfamiliar how he said it like that, but that's not verbatim. But the point is, Scorsese is one of those directors that takes you and pretty much pulls you in, like other directors that we mentioned, pulls you in, and the position that he does, what he does is grabs you, and depending on how long a film is, it depends on how a person is going to take it. And I know myself, I've seen a lot of 3-hour long films, and some of them in my mind seem too short. But as far as some films that are like maybe like 90 minutes, they seem too long because they're not giving me nothing. They're just dragging. But I feel like with him, he really takes what you think, like Aviator. Take something that's dealing with, we mentioned Howard Hawks. Take something that we never knew about the man and just runs with it. You know, I mean, it's like, wow. I mean, to think about, this man was not just a filmmaker, but he was also an innovator in the stuff that we deal with now with the technology we deal with now. You know, it's like, who would ever think that he would touch on certain things? He would touch certain things that you wouldn't think he would touch on. When he does, he pretty much gives you gold. Although, like I say, there have been some hits and misses, like on any director will. But I think with him, that's the reason why he's on my number 7. I'm on my number 7 pick right there. So. But Nina, now that you're back, sir, I guess we can continue on.
One second. I have some comments about your Martin Scorsese.
Yes, you mean
or maybe let's skip it. Like you said in the pre-talk, let's skip it to the end, and then I will put my final thoughts on it. So where are we at?
We are number 6. We're coming to the halfway mark now.
Okay, I have a technical problem here because my my mouse is not working to that I can. Okay, I have to open it on my cell phone.
Okay, that's fine. I was gonna say if you want to, I can pass you for a second. Go to Anthony.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Okay. We are now at number 6, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 6 is Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
Snap.
And that's my. I placed Alfred Hitchcock at number 6 because he showed more clearly than almost anyone else how suspense worked in cinema. Crime films and thrillers existed before him, but he turned them into very precise film language in films like Psycho, Vertigo, or Rear Window. Tension is not created only by the story itself, but by editing, camera perspective, and information given to the audience. Hitchcock worked very deliberately with what the viewer sees and what the viewer knows, and suspense comes exactly from the difference. This way of storytelling can still be found today in many different genres. While Wells expanded the formal possibilities of cinema, Hitchcock demonstrated how those tools can be used in a very controlled way to create a specific emotional effect. That is why I placed him at number 6, because his influence is still directly visible in modern filmmaking. I can tell you some. Hold on. I have here anecdotes. Yeah, in Jaws, Steven Spielberg used the daily zoom of the beach space distorts. That's exactly how panic feels. In Get Out, Jordan Peele uses Hitchcock's principle of voyeurism and subjective POV to keep us trapped in this sunken place. In Godfellas, in the diner scene, Scorsese uses the dolly zoom to show how paranoid physically narrows the room. That's what I was writing, and that's why he's so influential, because that's how that he influenced also the greats like Scorsese.
Hey,
That's my take. Sorry, I had to read it because I was writing everything in German, and then I had to translate it.
No, that's cool. Now, bro, look, that's why I say you take your time, because this just adds on to knowing that that's how passionately you're discussing it. And like I say, there's nothing wrong you reading, because I've had to read some things myself, just to get something out. I feel like if you don't have that information, you won't be able to express it like that. Like these directors that we're talking about, they had something that helped them to express certain things, and I feel that's the reason why we're discussing them now. Otherwise, it wouldn't be no bother in talking about them, because they were
right.
What they do, But Anthony, what's your number 6, sir?
Well, my number 6, it's not so much for his, even though he's directed some great films, it's not so much for that library, but just for how many hats he wore while making his films, and that would be Clint Eastwood. He would direct and star in many of these films, and how, and I'll keep it brief so Kevin can add some stuff. Just how multifaceted he was. He could do the action, yet with films like Play Misty for Me, he showed how he can handle suspense, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves as being a truly influential director.
Yeah, because this is funny. This is the same guy who would have his first acting debut in a cheesy
the sequel to Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, it's like, wow. I mean, go figure, he would become this, gargantuan of stardom, as the saying goes.
Yeah, look at Sylvester Stallone. He started in a porn movie.
Yeah, that's that's a history I feel people don't know, but yeah, he did do that. That is a fact.
And also, add on the professor also, Rope, which was one of the first, if not the first film to feel like it was done in one take.
Mhm.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah. One second, I forgot it when I was talking about Hitchcock. There is a very funny anecdote about Hitchcock. Um, he was prohibiting the cinemas when the movie Psycho started, that there when the movie started, the cinema was not allowed to put to get people inside the theater when the movie started. So he said nobody gets in, and accidentally that's how he created the lines around cinema, because the people had to wait for the next how do you say next.
Rex attendance, I guess, or
Yeah,
viewing.
the next show. So they had to wait for the next show to get into the movie, and so he accidentally created the lines around the cinemas because the people wanted to watch it, and he was forbidding nobody goes into the movie when the movie starts, and particularly only in Psycho.
Wow, that's something I never would have imagined, because I always thought that was there by from the get go, but go figure that he was a pioneer when it comes to that. That's like okay,
And it didn't make sense when you know the movie Psycho.
right. Hold on, it's the same. Wow. Well, with that being said, Kevin, what is your number 6, sir?
Well, it was going to be, I've said it earlier,
Okay.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
And then I thought, you know what, I'll swap that out because I did have a couple of directors who were my backups.
Okay.
My backup for Alfred Hitchcock was Clint Eastwood.
So you got royally screwed. You just got screwed.
I don't mind being screwed, but it depends who screws it. But
And who's the backup
anyway,
of Clint Eastwood?
so I do have somebody else.
Okay.
I'm just top of the bracket.
Oh god.
This one is a different choice because of what he did to a genre.
Okay.
And the person I'm talking about is George Miller, who
Okay.
created the Mad Max franchise, because he created a new wave of action when it came to the Mad Max franchise. Like his camera devices on the front of vehicles, the engineering work to be able to create them amazing action shots. Even though he's not my favourite director, you can clearly tell the likes of Michael Bay is influenced by George Miller. There's the Die Hard, some of the later Die Hard films were influenced by George Miller. He basically created this also in many ways, even though there's been many versions of like post-apocalyptic worlds. His creation of the wasteland, like, and what he was able to do with the Mad Max franchise, it's also influenced by past directors, but he's also influenced future directors. And it's got Miller transformed the action genre with Mad Max in 1979 and its sequels, culminating in Mad Max Fury Road 2050, with it frequently cited as one of the greatest action films ever made. His work is known for high-speed practical stunts and controlled chaos in cinematography and editing. Miller's directional style often focuses on archetypical narratives, utilizing the hero journey and tapping into the Jurian collective unconscious, framing his films as a modern public dreaming. So, he has done amazing work.
Well, he has, and that's another film franchise that until Fury Road, I feel like okay, there's just some throwaway films, but as you think about it, there are actually more to them than just that. There's actually a lot of in-depth, storytelling and how the character of Max is such a pivotal force in terms of how he has to deal with the loss, and then when he has to gain from all this, from that loss, it's very endearing, But now George Miller is a very good example of this, which brings me to my number 6, and this is going to be classic. My number 6 influential director is Michael Bay. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. No, there's no. Yes, it's nowhere near him on this.
I'm away. See you later.
Yes. No. Look, if Michael Bay was, I'm gonna be honest with you. If Michael Bay was on my list, I would have to be lobotomized because, yes, as you mentioned before, he was in.
He's my number 1 on my list.
Come on now. I got to disown you, didn't you? No, but no.
Imagine my list, and I put Michael Bay on number 1. Everybody should slap my fucking face.
Oh God, dude! I'll be like, you're like, what you doing here?
Now, if this was a list of the most top 10 overrated film directors,
then he would be on there for sure. That's true. But no, no. My number 7. Number 6 is, believe it or not, Fritz Lang. Fritz Lang is one of those directors that I feel he's mentioned, but I don't feel he gives enough credit how much he's affected films and filmmaking. When I did see the film Metropolis, that was something that like I say was such a big influence in science fiction. When I actually got to see it, I saw it for what it really was a allegory about basically the good and evil, and how the rich or the powerful pretty much, weigh on or, take advantage of, the so-called small fries, as we like to say. And we've seen this kind of storytelling many times before. We've seen it in, believe it or not, we've seen it in A Bug's Life. We've seen it in some other films I can't think of, but I mean, that kind of storytelling is such a influential thing when it comes to Fritz Lang, because he was just somebody who was just very, gifted with how he told the story and how he was very artistic and discussing. And like I say, when you see Metropolis, you realize that what's the most famous moment in there? I mean, well, it's actually many things in there. I mean, you see the skyline of the city itself and how big it is, which is kind of a precursor to our world now, how we see everything so large. It's like we got to look up. It's like, how big are we going to go? And like, there are buildings not here in other countries that like tower over the buildings that we have in America. It's like it's just an analogy. I mean, it's just an analogy of how he does things. Takes films, what genre, whether it be science fiction, horror, or whatever, and really plays on the now back then as opposed to what we're going to see in the future. And I feel he was very good at doing that. I mean, he's just somebody who needs to be mentioned more often than most, because if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have your George Lucas. I mean, in fact, you wouldn't have George Lucas at all. You wouldn't have Spielberg at all. You wouldn't have Ridley Scott at all. You wouldn't have any of those who tackled into certain genres, science fiction wise, because they wouldn't been able to hone in and tell the story of what they're talking about. But Fritz Lang is at my number 6 as far as that goes, and it's kind of funny that he's at number 6 when there's others who influenced him. But that's the reason why he's at number 6, because these are the ones I started out with. But in terms of, I got to give credit to what credit is due with him. So he's number 6 for me.
1 second, I will be right back. I have to start computer again.
Okay, but no, and share this with Kevin, with Daniel saying, yeah, he pretty much gave his expression with that.
Well, since Nina's got to restart his computer and I've been fucking.
No, it's no problem. I'm back here because I have to. I just start the computer. I have everything here on my PC. It's just easier to look up. Okay.
Just don't look. Start over. We start.
What, so what are we talking now? Number 5?
Okay, we're halfway there. We're halfway to the breaking point because this is gonna either make us or break us as friends.
It's probably going to break me.
Yes. So number number. So
Come on,
far,
bring
I
it,
think we've
Nina.
had.
Come
No.
on, scribbles over again. Come
Yeah.
on.
Number 5.
Give us one.
I could. My number 5 is Walter's number 6.
Okay. Fritz Lang.
Okay, that's what I wrote about Fritz Lang. I placed Fritz Lang at number 5 because his influence can be seen especially in the way modern cinema looks and in how many genres were visually shaped by his work. In films like Metropolis or M, you can already see a visual style that later became essential for science fiction, thrillers, and film noir. The influence of German expressionism, which Lang helped define, is still visible today in strong contrast of light and shadows, dark city settings, and atmosphere where tensions is created through the image itself. While earlier directors mainly developed the basic rules of storytelling or editing, Lang represents the moments where these elements come together into what we would recognize as a modern cinema style. Many aspects of later Hollywood cinema, especially in noir and thriller films, can be traced back to his work. That is why I placed him at number 5. His influence is enormous, but it lays more in the development of style and visual language than the original inventions and grammar. Hold on. I have some examples.
Okay.
So in Dune, I picked 3. I picked Dune 2. Dennis Villeneuve uses massive architecture on GD Prime. This is the visual language of Metropolis. The system consumes the human. Then I choose Blade Runner. Ridley Scott's Los Angeles is a social diagram to rich at the top, the poor at the bottom, length architecture translated into a nightmare. And in Joker, Todd Phillip uses Gotham City as a processive architecture. The stairs symbolize length principle. The environment occupies the individuals. That's and Fritz Lang is, for me, I had to put him on 5. I would have put him higher, but the problem is I couldn't put him higher because the people who are coming above him are more influential in certain things. But Fritz Lang is, for me, one of the biggest influential directors for every genre. Imagine, without Fritz Lang, there will be no Dark Knight. There would be no Christopher Nolan. With the language of Fritz Lang, his noir films, like the movie M, is one of the greatest movies of all time. It's so good, and the lights, and I go so far. Without Fritz Lang, there would be no movie like Sin City, and it's the language that he represented with all genres. It's like, for me, he's the godfather of the modern cinema. Without him, there would be no cinema, because, like I said, he influenced Christopher Nolan. Without him, there would be no Dark Knight. There would be no Blade Runner. There would be no modern Star Wars with this world building, with the lights, with the dynamic. And he was a master of that. Also, a city can be a character in a movie.
Yes.
And that's like when you watch we're talking about the first Joker movie, not the second one. In the first Joker movie, even Gotham City was a character by itself, because it has the language of Fritz Lang, and you cannot give him you can't give him enough credit. What he did for our cinema, how we watch it now. It's it's not there is that's why when Quentin Tarantino came to Berlin and went into Babelsberg, and he got into the in Babelsberg studio into the Fritz Lang studio, and he went on his knees and kissed the floor because he knew he was working there, and he's in the footsteps of Fritz Lang in Babelsberg. So it I would put him higher, but I cannot put him higher because of the persons who are coming above him, and without them, Fritz Lang also wouldn't be there. But he is. You can
He's up there.
see
Say
he's up there. So if you want to know more about Fritz Lang, go and watch what he's done. Is so big. N- not because he's a German. What's relatively cool is that you see, and some great anecdote I can tell you. One day, Goebbels came to Fritz Lang and said, "We want you as a director for our movies." And Fritz Lang, the next day, he went to America. He packed and left Germany and went to America.
Okay, I didn't know that. Say, I thought he was always
Yeah, because
Germany.
yeah, and that's so for me. I cannot praise him enough because we can be happy that we have him or we had him because
And
we-
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, without him, like I said, there would be no modern cinema.
And before I go on to Anthony, now you mentioned that, it always makes me think about another particular German director, Wolfgang Petersen, who I've seen some of his impressions that I think Lang kind of influenced, like in the Never Ending Story a little bit. I mean, and that's just my opinion, but I mean, that's here nor say. But I feel like I see some of that influence on that film particularly. But Anthony, Go
Like
ahead.
I said, you can see it in a lot of movies.
Yeah. But Anthony, what is your number 5, sir? We're getting there.
My number 5 is the director that has probably done more than any director to dispel the myth that animation is just for children. And even though he hates the title, I think it's kind of warranted to give him this accolade. The man known as the Walt Disney of Japan, Hayao Miyazaki of Studio Ghibli, who
Yeah.
he did really, you can see a lot of early Disney influence in him because he took that magic and whimsy of Disney films and told more mature, thought-provoking tales with it, and his knack for taking that magic and whimsy and at the drop of the hat turning it into something completely horrific. Like Kevin Lambert likes to say, there's filmmakers and storytellers, and
Yes.
Miyazaki is a storyteller first and foremost.
Yeah.
Shining-
That's one of my favourite scenes ever, this filmmakers and the storytellers.
A shining example, when I was getting into like more mature storytelling, this is the first one of his films I saw, Princess Mononoke, and I was just blown away with what was put on film, the story that was told and how it was told. How, like I said, at times it could look magical and whimsical like a child's movie, yet it could switch to horrific at the drop of the hat, and how he told these very mature, thought-provoking stories. So, yeah, Miyazaki is easily my number 5.
Okay. And it's interesting
Great
because
pick.
say what, Nina?
Great pick.
Yes, it's kind of funny because when you mentioned about how his storytelling is, I know he didn't direct it, but I still come back to this one film that stands out, which is Akira, and it's like this one is such a moving piece of anime that it's funny how that was all done by hand, and I know, but it was still a story behind it, but it was based on a manga, and then the thing about it is that film is not really complete. I mean, it's made out of different stories, but still, it shows how it influenced a different generation in
Yeah,
story.
the manga was still ongoing, and the guy that wrote the manga, he pretty much just gave the director his blessing. You just do your own thing with it.
Okay, let's see. That's the whole point of that. Well, Kevin, number 5, sir. What is your number 5 as far as influence?
Well, thank fuck no one stole one of my filmmakers again. I've actually got there without having to go, okay. So my next one is Christopher Nolan.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
Christopher Nolan, for me, of course, has been inspired by every film director that we've talked about.
Mhm.
All of the influences from the camera angles to how you film to creating amazing stories. But the thing I've noticed with Christopher Nolan, if you take away the Dark Knight trilogy, if you take away that, the majority of his work is original ideas.
Yes.
And he's come up with some amazing stories. He, for me, is like the modern day. I would say he's a combination of the modern day Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, James Cameron. He's a triple threat. He basically can come up with an original idea or do a biography and put together a film that has amazing storytelling with substance, as well as, if you wanted, like Tenet, great effects.
Yeah.
And he's like somebody that's refreshed Hollywood over the last few years. And as a quick go-to, there's a number of amazing young film directors. They're not really young, they're in the 40s, heading into the 50s, but you would call them reasonably young in the terms of directors compared to Spielberg and Martin Scorsese. You've got Robert Eggers.
Yes.
You've got Ryan Coogler. These young, fresh directors who are coming up, we will be talking about these as the next greats in many years to come. I would generally say, because of how his career has gone, Christopher Nolan's already kind of there, because they talk to him in the same light as they would Spielberg in Martin Scorsese, because he's a mixture of, he's like a chameleon of both of those directors and so much more. And I think he was something that was missing from Hollywood for a very long time.
Yes.
I think yes, there's still many great directors out there that people do talk about, but he's the one that's made kind of a fresh impact on the industry that was much needed at the time. And Oppenheimer, Dan Miller's mentioned it in the comments, just breathtaking. Tenet, very confusing, but
Yes.
enjoyable. The Dark Knight trilogy, one of the best modern trilogies in cinema for a very long time. And of course, I'm very much looking forward to the Odyssey, which I'm hearing is going to also have some influences in some tribute to Ray Harryhausen, because it is, of course, a fantasy story that's going to have mythical creatures in it. And so we've seen him do biopic type films with Oppenheimer. We've seen him do films similar to The Matrix. And now we're seeing him work within the foundations of fantasy. So he's like Steven Spielberg, where he can do practically a bit of everything.
So he's pretty, yeah. Because I was going to say, because he's somebody who's not thinking about the technique so much. I mean, he is, but he's thinking about how is the story going to come to light. And that's
story, quality, and substance before effect in the box office. And if you put that before anything else, you're a good director in my eyes.
And he's one of the few who's actually done that. Very few. Well, my number 5 is we mentioned him already, and that is Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick, for lack of a better word, is one of those individuals I feel can never really be matched in certain areas. I mean, because he's tackled, and it's something that Kevin mentioned, he's tackled all genres. He's done the sci-fi, he's done the horror, he's done the comedy. And one particular film that I think you didn't mention that I find is very underrated and not speaking about is Dr. Strangelove. That is a very complex film. It's just a satire, but it's a satire where it's like, what is it really saying? You know, it's like, well, it's saying that we human beings, we are just this analogy, we just this enigmas of craziness or stupidity.
Well, forgive me, Walter. The reason I never mentioned that particular film because I've never actually seen that one.
Okay, well, then I guess that's the reason why. Well, I would highly recommend it to you if you ever get a chance to watch it. But it's a definite film that Kubrick has set the groundwork on it. And can I say that when you see a film like Full Metal Jacket, let me just say that this is the first time when you realize how real world it really is, because I never knew. I can say right now, it was thanks to Mr. Kubrick that I found out how drill sergeants really are. They're not the kind that play around. And Kubrick was like, well, we're not going to play around either. We're going to really show that this is what this kind of stuff is going on when you go into the military, whether it be the Army, the Navy, or the Marines. You know, it's like that. And like I say, him tackling horror as far as with The Shining, we already know that it's not going with the book Stephen King gave out. We know that. But he still did his own interpretation of what he was bringing out with that film. You know, but the bottom line is that he's a very decent and well-named director that has influenced many people like Spielberg and other people. You know, and it's a reason why he, to this day, even after his death, you know, almost 30 years ago, he still has that lingering feel on cinema as we speak nowadays, you know. But that's my number 5. So, and since we're closer to the number 1 spot, we'll go ahead and keep going with it. And Neenan, what is your number 4? And hit it where it hurts the most.
For me, number 4 is Friedrich Wilhelm Murnau. I placed Friedrich Wilhelm Murnau at number 4 because he played a crucial role in turning film into a visual art form. In films like Nosferatu and Sunrise, storytelling happens not only through plot, but through light, camera movement, and composition. Murnau made the camera more dynamic, worked with shadows and visual filming, and showed that mood and meaning can be created through the image itself. The influence of German expressionism, in which Murnau was a central figure, can still be seen today in horror films, film noir, and author cinema. Many later directors, including Lang, Hitchcock, and Wells, adopted elements of this visual language. Compared to Lang, his influence is less connected to specific genres and more to the visual language of cinema itself. That's why I place him at number 4, because he did not just make important films, but helped define what film can look like. And 1 second, I have to check if I have here some. Hold on. Where do I have it? Where do I have it? Sorry. I have it here. So I have some examples in like The Shape of Water. Guillermo del Toro lets the camera float. This fluid movement is the modern form of Murnau's vision of the ghost-like camera. And in The Revenant, the camera flows around the fighters. This is the absolute liberation of perspective that Murnau initiated. And in Gravity, in the long takes in space, the camera loses all orientation. Murnau's desire of camera with its own concussionness.
Okay. You know,
I hope it's good translated because I try to translate it, and I hope it's always good
Your
that everybody understands it.
your English is better than you're giving yourself credit
I was
for.
going to say, yeah, you are. I don't think. No, I was going to say, Gravity is one of those films like I feel like it's very, yeah, it's well done in terms of especially that one take at the beginning. It's like, yeah, I can see that.
I never got to see that one, and I feel like it's one of those films that you really have to experience in the theaters. So I'm kind of at the point where it's like I really don't want to see it if my only options are at home on a small screen.
And I can say, and I can reinforce that with you, Anthony, because I did get a chance to see it in the theater, Gravity, and the experience is worth it better on a bigger screen. And trust me, that's where it's meant to be. It's meant to be on the big screen. You know.
I have some interesting facts or anecdotes. What maybe should be also good when Kevin is doing the Rocky franchise tomorrow. Everybody in the stream or in the chat, please join tomorrow Kevin for his Rocky stream. I highly recommend it. So what Murnau did, it's like the first part. What Murnau did, he strapped the camera around the belly of his cameraman, and he took the camera off the tripod of the tripod and let him walk around with the camera. I wrote it down here. Murnau strapped the camera to the operator's stomach so he could walk through the set, the precursor of the Steadicam. So Murnau, in a sort of way, he was like the grandfather of Garrett
Garrett Brown.
Garrett Brown with his Steadicam. So and that's why I had to put him below Fritz Lang, because the innovation and how movies without his idea to strap the camera on the belly of the operator, maybe we have today still only movies on the tripod.
It's like one thing leads to another, basically, when it comes to that.
Okay. Yeah, that's my point. How I see the influential how influential directors were. Yeah. And like I said it before, you guys have great examples of directors who know how to work with the basics and the foundations, and it's absolutely great. And these, like the old guys influence the new guys, and the new guys will influence the other guys. Maybe there will somebody come out who influenced another generation.
Well, that's how it's supposed to be. Well, at least good storytelling, I would like to say, good in cinema, but I don't know.
I would imagine the likes of Ryan Coogler and Robert Eggers, Christopher Nolan, even directors like Gareth Edwards, who, he's only had 4 films under his belt, of course. Godzilla 2014, Rogue One, which for me is his best film. He did The Creator, which was unique and different.
So I say thank you for mentioning.
Obviously, he did
And
Monsters, which was the one that got him his big break. So, you know, oh, he also did Jurassic World Rebirth. Well, not really.
so you guys can correct me, but for me, I think Murnau is the godfather of the horror movies.
Yeah. Well, let's move on
Without, with,
to.
yeah,
We'll get back to you though. But now going on to number 4 with you, Anthony. What's your number 4?
Well, he was already mentioned, but my number 4. We're going to have a little triple threat of Japanese directors here, and Akira Kurosawa.
Okay.
Just a brilliant storyteller who had as much of an eye for the visuals as he did telling the story, and someone who was willing to take technical risks. I forget which one of his movies it was, but to get this one shot he was really adamant about, they burnt out 3 lenses for the film camera to get that shot, but the story and the art to him was more important than the cost of these lenses, and just the, like I mentioned earlier, the trading back and forth of influences. He took a lot of influence from John Ford Western. John Ford took influence from him. Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven, and is just someone whose work has truly stood the test of time and has made some of the best films ever put on film. So I thought about not including him because I knew he would be mentioned a few times, but I was also like, I can't do this list without putting Kurosawa on it.
Well, that's the thing.
One second for your take. What you mentioned, I was writing it down. So that's I didn't talk about Kurosawa all what I have written down, but especially this scene that Kurosawa. Here I wrote it down. For a single scene in the movie Ren, Kurosawa had an entire castle built just to burn it down. He accepted nothing less than visual perfection.
Yeah, that scene you're talking about, it was equally horrific, haunting, and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
Imagine a mistake in that scene, and they had to build the castle again.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those. We only got one shot to get this right, so everyone better bring nothing less than their A game.
Yeah.
But with that being said, Kevin, what is your number 4, sir?
Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah, I think he's going to be sometime.
I thought about swapping him out for Coppola.
Well, you see, I've swapped out Ridley Scott for Coppola since he's already been mentioned. So, obviously, in the 1970s, you know, the way his filmmaking was, he redefined the gangster film genre with the Godfather trilogy. Of course, he created one of the most batshit crazy war films ever made with Apocalypse Now. And of course, we all know I'm a huge vampire fan. So let's be honest, Dracula, you know, I can't mention that without him. But I will mention this about him, which I've just read. He was the Godfather. The Godfather trilogy changed the gangster genre by transforming it from a trivial into a high art crime epic, while also shifting Hollywood's portrayal of Italian Americans according to Tom Santrapitriano. I think that's how he sees me. And this is what I also enjoyed. He pioneered early video editing techniques and electronic cinema, particularly during One from Heart 1982, which through a commercial failure set standard industry practices for modern digital production. As one of the first major filmmakers trained in a formal university film program, he brought a studied and analytical approach to directing, aiming for other artistic perfection over pure profit. According to Indie Film Hustle, Coppola remains a pivotal figure who bridged the gap between classic Hollywood storytelling and modern directorial control, influencing generations of filmmakers through his artistic courage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's
There-
another
there-
director, like I say, who put art, who put character, story before profit. He put substance and he put quality before quantity. So he didn't make 90,000 Godfather films. He stuck to his trilogy, stuck to his guns, and when it comes to his artistic vision, for me, Apocalypse Now, which was the most bat crazy film of its time, with all the stories you've heard, which is more interesting off the set. You know, that's the kind of director he was. But then, of course, when you look at artistically wise, I will always go back to Bram Stoker's Dracula. Such an amazing film, which you, me, and your friend covered on my channel.
Yes, I was gonna say. I mean, I didn't know how delicately he was gonna say that, but it's like, yes, I wanted to. I mean, I would accept he says that's something I explored on my channel and move on. But that's pretty much it.
And you talk about someone who did it for the love of filmmaking. He mortgaged his vineyard to make Apocalypse Now.
Yes, but with that being said, we're going to hit number 4 with me, and we haven't really mentioned this dude, but he is definitely someone who's influenced me a lot. But I know he was influenced by many others, like Coppola, like well, not Scorsese, like Fritz Lang and others. We mentioned all that, or even Orson Welles for that matter, and that is the great Steven Spielberg. He is without a doubt. I cannot do this list. I mean, you could do this list without him, but I guess because he was my generation's Orson Welles, Fritz Lang, others, although Kurosawa, although you could say I did know these guys that mentioned before, they were part of my generation also, but he has influenced so many directors, artists, and everything. And it's like his films, whether they be drama, whether they be science fiction, whether they be action, whether it be comedy, Spielberg has a touch of where he takes the most ordinary thing. And I'm gonna give you a great example. The remake of War of the Worlds. Okay. Even though that's not one of his best films, it's still a story. It's still a very storytelling film in terms of how characters react with one another and the realism. It's like, and this is the thing about him that he does very well. I mean, other directors do it, but I think he does it a little bit better, in my opinion, where he takes individuals like us who are not. Don't shoot me for what I said to say. He takes people who are not so flashy in terms of appearance or who are so glamorized, it's like I'm this superstar, and I'm just so enchanted, like no, he takes ordinary individuals, man or woman, and uses them as a story point in telling a story because he knows that realism is the best way in telling a story. And the film is this canvas where he puts these people on the screen and he doesn't sugarcoat stuff. And we mentioned before, like with Schindler's List, I'm like, when I first saw that film and I saw it in the theater, I was like, okay, he really can go to the jugular with when he's telling a story, because he's like, I'm trying to tell a story. I'm not trying to play. I'm not trying to play around this. I'm going to give you a headbutt that's going to break your skull, and you're going to either accept it or you don't. And like I say, yeah, he's done many things that are famous, like with the Raiders of Law. With the Indiana Jones films. But his real contribute can't even say the word. His contribute I can't fuck it. His way of giving to Hollywood or just filmmaking in general is that he's a person who is a filmmaker, but he's a storyteller first, because he's taken his technique of telling a story and using the filmmaking as his way of putting it on the screen, and people who watch it. I mean, because I know a friend of mine, we get jazzed up when we say like, "Oh, new Spielberg film that's coming out," It's like, and this latest film that he has coming out, even though it's a sci-fi, well, we can tell it's sci-fi, we still see those Spielbergians feel of what it is. Strong story of what is behind the veil, and strong characters that are enveloped in the story, in the film. But we don't know what the outcome it is. And when we find out what it is, it's going to be a tongue twister. But he is one of the reasons why he's at my number 4, because there are 3 more that are higher up. But when we get there, you'll find out why he's at number 4. So Neenan, what's his? We're getting close, brother. We're getting close. What is your number 3 in terms of influence?
My number 3 is George Méliès.
Okay.
And I place George Méliès at number 3 because he was one of the first to realize that film could be more than just a recording of reality. In A Trip to the Moon, you can already see special effects, visual tricks, and imaginative staging that shows how cinema can create its own worlds. Méliès is experimented with double exposure, stop tricks, and elaborate sets, opening possibilities that later become essential for science fiction, fantasy, and effect-driven filmmaking. While Murnau and Lang mainly developed the visual language of cinema, Méliès expanded the medium itself by showing that film could create illusions and fantasy. Many later developments, from horror films to modern blockbusters, are built on this idea. That is why I placed him realistically in the top 3, because he did not just shape style, but he helped define what film could be. And I have here some examples.
Mm-hmm.
The first VFX artist discovered the stop trick, double exposure, and time lapse. He saw film as a box tricks. When his camera jammed, he saw a bus transformed into a hearse in the footage. The very first special effect. So in Inception, I wrote it. So his influence on Christopher Nolan in Inception is Christopher Nolan's real centrifuge for the hotel corridor is Méliès' philosophy. A physical trick is more magical than pixels. And then in Grand Budapest Hotel, Wes Anderson used hand-painted mud paintings and miniature models, the handmade illusion of Méliès. And in Titanic, James Cameron combination of models and real water is based on Méliès' artisanal tricks. That's what I wrote down. So what I'm saying is, without Méliès, there would be no special effects. There would be no George Lucas, who could make some special effects. So he's the godfather for me for special effects, and that's why he has to be on my list as an influential director.
All right,
So
bro. I like that.
that's so. What my conclusion is that the approach of influential directors is such a such a great journey to see how and what director influenced each of one of you, and why why the directors are on the position they are. And that's very curious, that's very eye-opening, because it shows how shows also what kind of movie lovers we are and how we all respect the genre of movies and the people who are coming and who are still coming and who opened the way of film directing. So it's not only the directors. So you can also make a panel of who are the influential cameramans or who are the most influential music makers. But with directors, it's great to see how influential the directors are to each of one of you.
Right.
And it's a great take to see it this way.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's exactly the point. I mean, because it's like I say again, one lead, as I said before, one leads to the other, and we don't know which one is going to influence the other and how it's going to expand out into that mindset, you know. But Anthony, what is your number 3, sir?
Well, completing my little trifecta of Japanese directors, and my list, I should say, isn't necessarily in any particular order. I had enough time thinking of top 10 without, okay, I'll put this one here, that one here, that one there. But a genre many of us hold near and dear to our heart owes everything to this man, and that would be Ishiro Honda.
Yeah.
Who directed the first Godzilla movie. He was a great visual and thematic storyteller in that film with the small budget. He managed to capture so many. Godzilla's Rampage Through Tokyo has so many somber and just horrifying moments that even though the effects 100% show their age today, they still have the emotional impact. And even though he was a very focused director with a vision and adhered to it, he was also a director that understood there's no I in team, and he had certain people that he would repeatedly work with, like Akira Ikefube and Eiji Tsuburaya, that even though he had this vision, he knew enough to know these people know things that are out of my field of expertise, and I need them to put my vision onto film. So for helping to birth the kaiju genre and creating a character that's still going strong, coming up on 76 years later, he's Ishiro Honda is definitely one of my 10 most influential.
He would have been on my list, but I mean, when we get to him, I mean, I think he was a little bit more fun because they were.
I was this close.
Yeah. So, well, since you were that close, Anthony, Kevin, you're not Anthony. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't tell you two apart sometimes, so that's the reason why.
They look like twins.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I'm fucking fat and ginger from the UK.
Yes, there you
go. So, anyway, I'm sexy and fat. But
there you go. Everybody got it.
Or I'm just
fat.
He's sexy and fat, but he's from New Jersey.
Carolina now.
Yes,
North Carolina.
Oh, you're making me laugh, dude. What's your number 3, Kevin?
It's none of your business. My number 3 is
Kevin only talks about number 1 and number 2.
I know.
My number 3 is Martin Scorsese.
Okay.
For everything that you have all said, that's already been said about him. Okay. Amazing film director. Right. He very much is like Steven Spielberg, but in terms of he hasn't really went out there and made like a sci-fi movie or anything like on that level. He's more about the drama and the storytelling, and he loves a story with grounded characters. Yeah. And obviously the majority of his work, like you see, is with Leonardo DiCaprio. It's with, of course, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, and he's made some amazing stars in his own right through his work. But I like his nitty gritty, grounded stuff. I love how he can, tell a story with these actors. And he is an amazing director with camera angles, zooming in on faces, getting the emotions and the expressions out of people. But I also think what has built his career is the people he's worked with. You can be an amazing director and telling an amazing story, but if you don't have the correct cast in your films, sometimes I think that doesn't help bring your vision to life. Now, I have seen many films where I thought the film was great, but there's certain people in the cast I would be like, well, that person would have done a better job in that role. Like, that film would be great if he wasn't that character. But with Steven Spielberg, not Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, he always picks the same familiar cast because he knows they're gonna get the best out of them.
And that's a tribute to his work, because, like I say, he only gets out the best because he gets in touch with the best, And I'm like, and usually that would bother me a little bit, but I realized, like, no, that's just a staple of a good filmmaker, having someone who's done a good job before say this person could probably pull this off now, and that's testament to his craft, which is a good thing. But my number 3 is, and we've already mentioned, I won't go too much on him, is Mr. Alfred Hitchcock. And for obvious reason, Alfred Hitchcock is one of those directors where he has delved into many genres, but not sci-fi, which I can say is probably he might have not been able to pull it off well, but then again, you never know. But his impressions on how he does things, how he does with the camera, especially lighting, especially in films like Psycho, which is totally there are films before him that's been filmed in black and white, but this is where it's like you see some impressions being done that's like you don't really see too much, especially nowadays. And the one film that I don't think too many people talk about, but it's a very, very influential film in terms of one shot, Saboteur. And it's a great moment where the guy who's the saboteur, he hangs on, for dear life off the Statue of Liberty's torch. And the funny thing is, this is such a simple technique that it seems like it would be something that was done like years later, but it's such a simple effect that you never would have thought that that's how they did it. And when you see it, it's like, oh wow, that's how it is. An old-fashioned magician's trick, pulled it off, and it shows right there how Hitchcock's influence and how his techniques of storytelling really get you involved, And sadly, in my opinion, like I say, this is my opinion, he kept directing until like almost close to the 80s, but he passed away in like 79, I think 79 or 80. And his films didn't really have that luster after the 60s, in my opinion, because I feel like the last real film that he did that had texture was The Birds, or I think it was another one that came out in the 60s. But after that, it was pretty much, done.
Yeah, I feel the same how you're feeling about him, about Francis Ford Coppola, because obviously he always had that dream of making that film Megalopolis.
Yes.
And he finally delivered. But I also respect him. He's in his 80s. And he always wanted to make that film. And he couldn't give a shit if people liked it or didn't like it. He finally got to make and I'm assuming because I think he's 89 or 88, I can't remember.
He's old.
This is probably going to be his last ever film.
Yeah.
And I think all respect, all kudos to them. He went out there and he went, guess what? Fuck it. I've wanted to make this film for so long. I'm finally going to make it happen.
Yeah.
And he did. And it obviously, it cost about 150, 180 million. It didn't do that well at the box office. It's considered a bomb. It had mixed reviews, but he said, it's the film I wanted to make. So I give him all the kudos in the world. But if you are an old school fan of his, you probably would have enjoyed it, or you would have at least respected him. Newer people who might have heard of the name Francis Ford Coppola, the legendary film director, and went in for this, and this is your first viewing of one of his films, would have probably left very disappointed. Because in your mind, because you've heard his name shouted out, oh, I hear he's an amazing film director. Then you go into these movies and you're like, actually, that was disappointing. But either way, I respect him, and I respect the fact he went out there and did something in his 80s. I'm 41. I could not be bothered to make a film right now. He's 80-something and went out there and did it. You've got to respect it. And the same with Alfred Hitchcock. Whether they were good films or not, he was making films way past probably his time, but he still had that creativeness to do it.
In his own mindset. That's brilliant. I love that. So that's a great example, and that's where you gotta go with. But Neenan, we're almost done with this, brother. So what's your number 2 influential director?
My number 2, that's a controversial number 2 because of who the person is. It's D.W. Griffith. I placed D.W. Griffith at number 2 because he was crucial in turning film into a true storytelling medium. In films like The Birth of a Nation and Intolerance, he used techniques such as cross-cutting close-ups and dramatic pacing in a systematic way, helping to create a form of cinematic storytelling that still defines classical narrative cinema today. Before Griffith's film was often still influenced by theater with static camera positions and simple scene structures. Griffith showed that by using editing, changing perspective, and different shot sizes, it was possible to tell complex and emotional, powerful stories. Many of the basic rules of narrative filmmaking came from this period. While Mellis showed what film could be, Griffith showed how film could tell stories. That is why I placed him at number 2, because his influence formed the foundation of the classical feature film as we know it. So I have here some. He invented the visual vocabulary, parallel editing, and the close-up. He influenced Christopher Nolan in Dunkirk. Nolan's cut between 3 timelines. We understand that thanks to Griffith's logic of simultaneity. Then in Aliens, the countdown to the explosion during the fight in the classical last-minute rescue edit by Griffiths. Schindler's List, the close-up onto the girl in the red coat isolated an emotion in a crowd, a Griffiths tool. That's why I had to put Griffiths at number 2. I know he's controversial because his racism in The Birth of a Nation, and that was a bit, but he tried to.
It helped revive the KKK in the 20th century.
Yeah, but
he public reviews and white superiority. Reviews,
but which is film
give the KKK more influence throughout the country.
But with his work as on Intolerance, he accidentally made a masterpiece.
Well, and see, and look, and this is one of the things I'm kind of glad that you bring that up, about Mr. Griffin, because I know about his backstory, I know about it, but if you ask the average African American, if you ask the average black person, I guarantee you they'd be like, "Don't mention that name to me. I don't want to hear it." But see, I'm one
Yeah.
of those ones who is more open minded and realize, like, hey, whatever was the past, the past. Look at the person's unique work load and see what that person brought to the table, and that's kind of thing. And need I add too? I love how, I mean, like I say, when you say you're English and everything, and I'm not even looking at that. I'm loving how very fluent you are in terms of expression what you're talking about, because it lets me know that that's how this is bringing brought to the table in terms of what you're talking about. So just want to give the fellow.
That's what. Yeah, that's what we said in the beginning. There are people on my list on my list that I don't have to agree. I don't have to agree with them, but I cannot take away the influence this person had on the on how we're watching film today. So I cannot ignore this, but I cannot. I also can say, okay, I don't agree with what the person is, but I cannot ignore what he brought to the table in in doing the movies. It's like with talking about wrestling. We can talk about Hulk Hogan controversially, but we cannot deny what he did for the wrestling community. So we have to. I can say I don't agree with Griffith, what he did and everything, but we cannot deny what he brought to the table for us, how we watch movies right now. That's two different. That's why I said before that could be a controversial topic, because I know a lot of people wouldn't put him in top 10, not even in the top 100. They would like to get rid of him. But for me, like I said, I don't I don't have to like him, but I have to accept what he did for the movies, how we watch it. That's how I can put it.
And I have to respect that, brother. I mean, because that's like I say, if you're not open minded enough to respect the person's point of view on something, then it's no sense us. There's no sense people talking about it, So that's a good thing. Well, Anthony, what's your number two, sir?
Okay, first, I just can't not resist because of the Berserk fan in me, so I apologize for this, but
Okay.
Griffiths!
Okay.
Okay, my number, I just had to get that out of my system.
Okay.
My number two is Steven Spielberg. One of my earliest cinematic experiences was seeing Jaws on TV at home as a kid, and even as a little kid who couldn't even tie my own shoe at the time, I began to associate the name Steven Spielberg with quality, even though I didn't know what the word quality meant. I knew if I heard Steven Spielberg, it was going to be a good or at least well-made film, and just...
There we go.
Just
Gotta show it.
attention. Bear, I would love to have one of those.
Yeah. There you go. Gotta show
Great.
it. That's his baby.
It's attention to detail, the way he told story, like Walter said, the fact that he told films about just everyday regular people. He didn't dress it up. He didn't make it flashy, whether you have E.T., which is about a troubled kid, Jaws, which is about this regular community with this problem, or even Jurassic Park, which was one of the most, for me as a kid, one of the most formative experiences of going to the theater to see a movie in on the big screen, and it's one of those cinematic experiences that all these years later I still remember the details of going to see it, even things that he had nothing to do with that the theater did, and just sitting through the film and like not being bored with the talking scenes, being blown away with the dinosaurs, the just attention to detail, the fact that he was smart enough to and willing to use the right special effects for the right scene rather than just, oh, we'll go all digital. You mentioned the War of the Worlds. Another thing prop I have to give that film is the sound design, like the noise he approved for the sound the Martian tripods made is absolutely terrifying, as well as some of the visuals in that film. So, yeah, not only can Steven Spielberg not be on this list, but even though I said this is in no particular order, he's still a director whose name needs to be near the top.
Definitely.
Good point. Well, Kevin, what is your number 2, sir?
Michael Bay.
Okay. Okay. Someone had to put it on their list, see?
No. Mine is a director that's already been talked about a number of times on the stream, but he is my number 2. He's a director I have nothing but the utmost respect for. His work stands out for himself. His influence will carry on for generations. It is Akira Kurosawa.
Okay.
He is one of my all-time favorite directors. I have the box set with all of his samurai films. I want to get the box set with all his detective films because I've only seen 1 or 2 of them. I can just sit on my bed, put my television on, put the DVDs on, and I just get swept away. In one of my favourite all-time streams I have ever done on the entertainment headquarters is the Akira Kurosawa one. It was just so amazing, just celebrating that man's life in his career, in the influence he had on film. That, of course, I did see we're going to do a second one in September. And I cannot wait for that because outside of number 1 on my list, he is probably my all-time favourite director.
Brilliant. I like that. It's, Kurosawa, I mean, you cannot say Kurosawa is not influential in some way or another. And I think what when Nina mentioned about Sergio Leone, I mean, he would have been on here, but I feel that someone else influenced him in order to be where he's at now.
I was that close to adding him to my list as well.
See, that's why I say that's so influencing. And what's it with Professor? And I've not seen High and Low. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have not seen that one. I need to see that one for sure.
Well, all I'm gonna say, Dan Miller, wait till September.
Yes.
For the Akira Kurosawa Part 2.
It makes sense. Makes sense to do a number 2. Well, on to number 2 for me, and Mr. Neenan brought it up. George Méliès, I feel, is one of those individuals that if you don't, I mean, I'll put it like this. If you're a filmmaker or film lover, if you do not know who this man is, I'm saying to myself, I'm gonna just tell you right now, you are not what you call anything of what you say you are, because Méliès is literally someone who shaped the way we look at films today. He is, I think,
I would be right there.
Okay. He literally, Nina said it best. He shaped the way we look at films today in terms of effects, how we do things, and how it influenced so many other individuals in the genre in terms of what Anthony mentioned, Shiro Honda. I know him working with E.G. Tsuburaya, they was the godfathers of, tokusatsu filmmaking, and I know others, in the film industry, like I say, Spielberg and otherwise, showing how to shape and take. And I'm gonna mention too, Mr. James Cameron. He was influenced by him too. I know he was. To shape and mold the way we look at films. And can I dare say that he is somebody who helps us to create something out of the air, who have incredible imaginations like myself, who just think of something just random, it's just like say, I wish I could put that to film, but unfortunately I don't have the skill set. But thankfully, things like this give me an example. I could create out of nothing and hold up, where is it at? Create out of nothing, but kind of say like, this is kind of what I would like to see come to light. But knowing that he is somebody who gave me the knowing power of saying, hey, you may not be able to do it by yourself, but at least you can say, you can imagine and say, give an idea of what it is. And Melee's is just one of those individuals. Like I say, in fact, here, wait a minute, Mr. Professor said it, A Trip to the Moon. Such an iconic film in what it does, because you see, look, you look at that film, what stands out the most? What's the most standout moment in that film? That's the moon moment where, the capsule hits the eye of the moon, and it's like stuck in it. It's like that sticks in your mind. It's burned in your mind so well that it's like, how can you not, forget that? And we mentioned Martin Scorsese. He was the one who did kind of a mismatched bio on Melee's called Hugo, and it's just like I say, that shows right there how influenced he was by him. So without Melee's, I don't think he would have the films that we see like Endgame or anything like Abyss, or maybe even Star Wars.
He was the first man that took what was in your brain is your imagination and fantasy of vision and put it on screen.
That's right.
And made it happen.
Because that was his thing.
You and me, Walter, Anthony, even Nenad, we are kaiju fans. So imagine back in the day, if we were around when he was around, he had the mindset and had, the ability to then go to maybe, yes, he created, A Trip to the Moon, but imagine if he had the ability back then to create the first kaiju film. We would have all been so hypnotized by it, because he was the man that discovered a way of taking what was in your mind or what was in your fantasies and putting it out there. And as you've mentioned, not only has this man influenced special effects and was basically one of the first ever special effects artists out there, he's influenced film, he's influenced television, he's influenced artists, painters, he's influenced computer games, he's influenced comic books.
Yeah.
He's done it all. And it started with him.
Exactly. As I said before, one thing leads to another, but the thing about it is, how did it affect everything that followed through? It's almost the Eve kind of situation. Go ahead, Nate.
For me, that's why I put him on number 3, because for me, the other two above him were for me more influential about what Melis did, because for me, what you can say about Griffiths what you want, but for me, what Griffiths did with the storytelling is more influential than what Melis did.
And that's the whole point of it. It's like it's in. You see, that's why I say with this whole list, I know because I asked Anthony this and I asked this Kevin, and I know for you too, Nina, but this list, our personal list, it's not easy. But it proves right there, if it was easy, then that shows like that was like, wait a minute, if it's that easy, then it's not that really influential, because it shows that we feel like, oh, we're just like the rest of the, you know, fans or influencers, you know, whatever. We're just like everyone else. We say, oh, this is the one who we're going to pick. This one is like, well, no. Which one do we feel is more ingrained in our souls in terms of how it affects us, you know? And like I say,
yeah,
that mindset is like, it shows right there. If the list was hard to come out and you know, pretty much spit out, proves that you really are thinking about which one is really there to say that that's what you're going with. And I feel that's why.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if you going with the straight facts, so like we say, when you go straight facts, and you're talking about influential directors, for me there was only one way to do a list, and that's for the people who are really. I'm not saying that the other ones didn't were influential, but for me is who really influenced the cinema we have today. And for me, the only logical way was to make a list with the pioneers, because there for me, the ones who are really were influential what cinema is today. So everybody else can find for himself what does mean influential for them. What is the influence for them? Why is like Wolfgang Petersen or who else is exactly for him so influential? But my take was, I had to go deep down and make a list of the foundation who set the set the tone, for, set the standards. Without my approach was, wouldn't we do? Would we have ignored the pioneers and the foundation? I think the list wouldn't feel right.
Yes, that's a good point. That's
it's like,
go ahead.
It wouldn't feel right. So everybody can for himself. The guys who are looking and who are in the comments or whatever, they have to find for themselves for who was influential for them and why was he influential for them. But my take was, if we talk about influential, we have to go to the pioneers who started all the
pretty much
all the stuff. It's like we wouldn't. It's like Anthony mentioned. Wouldn't we mention the director of the first Godzilla 54 movie? There wouldn't be There wouldn't be kaiju movies today. But would you put Garrett Edwards or Garrett? Me and names. It's
Garrett Edwards.
Yeah, would you put him on number 2? You would totally ignore the original director who influenced the genre. So it's not possible. It's not possible to put somebody influential below somebody who really influenced a genre or whatever. It's like you cannot you have to mention Gareth Brown when you talk about Steadicam, but you also have to mention
I know
Sorry.
it's like I say. I mean, that's I get you.
Yeah, you have to also mention people who were before. So that was my approach, but it's yeah, that's what I wanted to try to say.
Okay, now you.
I hope I hope it makes sense what I was trying to say.
It make brother trust me when I say that makes more sense than some of the people in the United States because sometimes they speak and I'm like, what the f are you talking about? I mean, what are you saying? You know? No, I feel I think see I think that's the thing right there is key. When a person is passionate about what they're saying, even though they may not be as good as a certain language, it's not about the language. It's about what's being said through the language, how you feeling about it, you know. So that's
Can,
not.
can I comment on the comment of
Oh,
Dan
wait a minute.
filming?
Now
That
you see that?
that 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 then you're absolutely right. That was the common sense in the 1800s that they film somebody who come into a train station. But
Mhm.
thanks to thanks to all the guys who are in the list, like I have to mention again. Hold on, I have to mention again Alice Guy Blash, who said there is more than just putting a camera and filming people coming, a train coming inside. There is more, and you are right then, because with wouldn't we have the guy who's put a tripod and a camera and filming a train coming in? Maybe Alice Guy Blash wouldn't say, "Oh, there is something. Maybe we can make it more interesting." And then that sparked it. You're absolutely right. You have to mention also these people, the pioneers who are did it differently, and that's why they had came up with the idea there is something more we can do, and that development. And it's like with the other one, there is a spark. Oh, we can go from this spark to there. Oh, we can do this. Oh, now we can make realistic looking kaijus where you think, oh, they could really be on the street. And that's the interesting. So that's why I'm saying you have to mention the pioneers. Without the pioneers, we wouldn't be sitting here and talking about great directors and movies.
All right. Well, hey, and that being said, we're at the number one spot. So I want to ask you this: did you say you had some honorable mentions by chance, Neenan?
Yeah, but I want I have I have I have an honorable mentions, but it's a I will read it later, the
Okay.
honorable mentions, because it's a it's a text I was
All
writing.
right.
So
Well,
now
give
we're
us.
coming to
Yeah, we're at number one. So hit us with number one. Who is
for
that?
me there's only one person on number one. Without him there would be no cinema like we have it today, and that's Sergei Eisenstein.
Okay.
And I will write down what I wrote about Sergei Eisenstein. I place Sergei Eisenstein at number one, not simply because he was a great director, but because he made one of the central mechanisms of cinema visible: montage. In Battleship Potemkin, especially in the Odessa step sequence, you can see that the impact of film does not come from a single image, but from the collision and the sequence of images. The idea became fundamental for how cinema creates meaning. What makes Eisenstein especially important is that he did not only use montage in practice, he also developed theories about how film works as its own medium. He analyzed how editing can create emotion, tension, and ideas, and his writings influence filmmakers all over the world. Griffiths is fundamental for storytelling, but Eisenstein is fundamental for what makes cinema specifically cinematic. That is why I placed him at number one, because his influence reaches the core of film language itself. So I was writing something different. Um, here I have here some more. Discover Discover of the heart. Montage meanings is creating by the collision of two images. A plus B equals C. Einstein believed that through the right edit and one could physically control the audience heartbeat. I had three mentions. Baby Driver. Edgar Wright uses Einstein rhythmic montage. The image is subjected to the beat of the music. And Requiem for a Dream. The hip hop montage makes images collide so hard that the feeling of intoxication is hammered into the brain. In Bad Boys 2, sorry that I have to mention this name.
Where are you going? Wait a minute. Bad Boys 2 is actually something influenced by this guy. I mean, yeah, please.
Hold on.
Okay.
Michael Bay. Sorry, he inspired Michael Bay's Shortcut is based on Eisenstein montage of attraction, physical staggering through visual power. The Shortcut. Do you have the Shortcut in Bad Boys 2? And that's very influential of Eisenstein. Without Eisenstein, there would be one picture after another. So he's crucial and fundamental for me. Without him, there would be no cinema.
Wow. I mean, I guess I know we kind of jokingly with Michael Bay on this list, but the fact that he was influenced by someone a little bit way greater, I was like, wow, I never would have imagined that. That's kind of crazy. Hold up.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, that's a good point. But no, I mean, like I say, I mean, I know I'm giving Michael Bay a lot of rant and everything, and well, like I say, Raz, well, but at the same time, him able to be mentioned and being influenced like that's saying something. You know, I just never imagined that. That's crazy. Okay. Well, Anthony, you there?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know. I'm gonna make sure. What's your number one?
Well, as they say, there can be only one, and that one has to be Uwe Boll. No, Alfred Hitchcock. I had to turn the camera off because I couldn't keep a straight face for that. We had two people fake out Michael Bay, so I was just like,
yeah,
what can I do that even tops Michael Bay? So
Uwe Boll, Jesus Christ.
But Alfred Hitchcock.
The fact that his name is even mentioned next to Alfred Hitchcock's.
Okay.
No, but like not just for how long he stayed in the film industry, the stories he told, how he pushed techniques. You have films like Lifeboat, which is literally just basic camera angles with people sitting in a lifeboat for the whole film, and it's not boring. The dialogue and the characterizations keep you engaged in that film. Films like Rope, where it's one of the earliest examples, if not the earliest, of a film feeling like the entire thing is done in one solid take, or what I think is his crowning achievement myself. My favorite Hitchcock film, why did it slip my memory for a minute? Rear Window, and just how he told the story in that film. You have this guy with a broken leg looking out his window, and how you had all his neighbors conveying story without dialogue. And then there's that little corner of the screen with an alleyway that shows the street, and you see like the occasional car and people walking by, plus stock city sound effects that in a very minimalistic way, with just a couple sets, he made that whole area feel like a living, breathing city. He was very much a man who knew how to be minimalist and make you feel like you were getting a lot more than you were getting for what you had. Just, I can list his legendary films over and over again, which the aforementioned Rope is a very same thing with Lifeboat, are two very underrated, underappreciated films by his. So, yeah, for number one, I have to put Alfred Hitchcock.
All right, nice. Well, I mean, I know someone was going to be at the top, but I didn't know exactly who. Well, Kevin, who would you like to be at the top?
Well, he's not, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you mean on top film directors? M. Night Shyamalan.
Okay, I mean
That is a complete lie.
That's what I say because he's
Shimmalama Ding Dong.
He's not even
Here
on
is
this
a clue.
picture here.
Here is a clue.
Okay.
It's very clear as day.
Okay.
Wolfgang Peterson for Godzilla 1989.
This is, of course, Mr. Steven Spielberg.
Right.
Why Mr. Steven Spielberg?
Why indeed, please.
Well, long before I even knew about the man, he is the most influential director of my childhood. My life and a lot of my favorite films come from him. And if you are a child, you don't ask the question of who directed this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this man is amazing. Or the question you ask about is, wow, there's really dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, there's an alien called E.T. You ask these kind of questions when you're a kid. Then when you get older, you then start to look into it and go, the films I enjoyed and the imagination this person brought to me as a child, to actually start going out and drawing your own comic books or to think about becoming a filmmaker yourself, started from a childhood that I had. Every filmmaker that every single person has talked about, but imagine when they were a young child and they first seen that person's first film.
And I'm going to ask you this.
And what they brought to them.
Mm-hmm. But I was going to ask you, when you found, like I said, when you got embedded in what Spielberg and everything, who he was it through someone else that introduced you to want to watch Duel? I mean, was it somebody who said that?
So Duel obviously is an older one of his films. And me and DJ Anubis have covered that on Cinematic Synergy over on the Metal Tavern Radio.
Okay.
Please go over there and check DJ Anubis's channel. Amazing content, amazing things. We do the Cinematic Synergy once a month. And so I had heard of Duel. I had seen Duel once, maybe, but obviously as a child, like George Lucas with Star Wars, there's many people who grew up with that in the 70s. Grew up with, Ray Harryhausen.
Mm-hmm.
So he is the director of my childhood. And I would not be sitting here today with a love of film, with a love of pop culture, deciding to start my own YouTube channel without his influence.
And Queen Queen has this question.
Queen Glamazona 8789.
She asked this question. Do you remember that pilot he directed for Night Gallery? Did you ever hear about
Many
that?
years ago, yes, but I cannot remember it completely, but I do remember it.
Okay.
So that is why he's my number one, because he is the director of my childhood, and let's be honest, for the majority of my life.
And I think for a lot of us, I think a lot of us here can say that he was influential to our lives, but he was not my number one, only because there's a reason for that, because of the one that's at my number one, and he's the one that actually got the ground running for a lot of these other directors that we mentioned. I mean, the ones later on, and we mentioned him already, but I'm gonna give my 2 cents on him. and that is Mr. Akira Kurosawa. One of the most influential, most brilliant filmmakers of all time. I can say right now, if it wasn't for him, maybe I would not understand why film works the way it does. I know when I first saw Ron or Ran, I mean, I think it's Ron, but
It's Ron.
it's Ron. When I
No,
first,
sorry, it's Ran. No, it is. It's Ran.
it's Ran. Okay, that's what I was saying. I want to make sure I pronounce it right. Ran. When I first saw Ran for the first time, and this is back in the 80s, I was kind of thinking to myself, who is this director who directed this? What is this? Like, it's such a brilliantly, not so much cut, but the canvas of color, the canvas of how you mismatch, dark with light, and how else, and I just wanted to know who this director was, and hold up, well, was one of my favorite, but surprisingly, that's not one of my favorite Kurosawa films. It shows how he can take anything, where it be black and white, specifically Red Beard, which is my favorite Kurosawa film. That's a perfect example how he takes. I mean, it's a great storytelling film altogether, but the way he uses light and shadow in that movie, specifically for one scene where this sick little girl, is so mistrusting of the doctor in that film and everything. And the way Kurosawa lights that, showing bits and pieces of her in the dark because she still has this darkness inside of her because she's been mistreated. But you see this light shown on her at a certain point, like something's breaking through, where she's being loved, where she's showing compassion for the first time. Kurosawa does it so well that it makes you realize, like, okay, you're not just seeing this for dramatic effect. You're actually showing how this is storytelling at its finest. You're showing that he's getting you invested in a character you think it's minimum at best, or just small potatoes in that sense. But he does his storytelling so brilliantly in different films, and even, like I say, even films like the detective stories we've mentioned, High and Low and whatever, he does this so well that you get invested with the characters that much that it's like you never forget them, and you realize that these characters are not just characters; they're people that have substance. They're people that have something to bring to you to the table, and it shows that whether it be the antagonist or protagonist, all of that is what makes a great storyteller, as far as filmmaker. And what I feel in my own self, in my own mindset, is that he is forever, and all the other people we mentioned before are top bill in terms of directing. But for me, truthfully, Kurosawa tops them all in terms of influential directors, because he makes it where it's like, okay, if you hear Kurosawa, it's like, oh, I know who that is. I'm like, everything everything comes to life. And that's the thing I feel that he is great in doing, giving people who are influenced by and love a good film that has good characters. And I think that's why you have your Spielbergs, your Francis Ford Coppola's, you have your James Camerons when he was telling good stories, and your Christopher Nolan's.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's number one in mine.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Alex here. Yes, exactly. Exactly. He did.
Like,
That's the thing.
like I mentioned earlier, he's such an impactful director. Obviously, that's why last September I had to do a special dedicated to him. And obviously, we're doing a second special because he's got so many amazing films. that are so influential that I do want to do a second special, but also because Steven Spielberg is my number one.
Right.
And probably in June, when Disclosure Day comes out, the next Steven Spielberg movie, I am going to be doing a Steven Spielberg special on the entertainment headquarters, which I would like you guys to be a part of. Because, like I say, Akira Kurosawa is my number two. He's my number two because he is such an inspirational director. But Steven Spielberg had to be number one because he was the director of my childhood. He made me believe, like you see, boys could go on a bike and fly in the sky. He made me believe dinosaurs could come back to the world. And he also, in many ways, made me frightened of aliens coming out of the ground in his version of War of the Worlds. You know, and he made me get frightened of going into the water thanks to Jaws. But Akira Kurosawa is the man that created, like Queen Glamazona 8789 has said, so many relatable characters, so many stories that were dealt with real situations in this big fantastical scenario. And as you said, the Hidden Fortress is the one that inspired Star Wars. And when we did the Akira Kurosawa special, that is definitely one of my all-time favorites. Yeah. I love especially the two thieves in that film.
Yes.
Who remind me of the droids from Star Wars. So, you know, just so much great. Oh, yes, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Amazing. Just influenced my imagination as a child. And then, of course, what come after that? Akira Kurosawa, Godzilla. The list can go on.
Wow, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, hey, this has been an interesting trek. You know, I mean, knowing that we've all, and I'm glad that you guys came to join this journey with me, because I know this has been a subject that's been toying around for a long time, probably on everyone else's mindset, but surprisingly, it was somebody else who influenced me to realize, like, I want to do something like this. I want to really hone in and talk about who in the director field really influenced and how they really influenced our way of looking at things, you know. And I feel like, well, say if I get a couple of people on here, you know, it's like cool. But when you get the people who really dive deep into what they think is influential, you know, like I say, when Neenan found out, he really wanted to hone in. It's like, okay, come on, you know. But I realized that shows right there that was a good choice on my part, because I saw somebody who really was passionate about all this. Probably because, I mean, I'm assuming because he works in the entertainment field and he knows about these things a little bit more than us, and he knows that this is I'm pretty sure he's run into some who, like, they don't know the ass from the asshole when it comes to directing or whatever.
But and I know assholes.
Yes. Well,
if we could only get a camera on Jake's face right about now.
And there he is. There. Okay. Yes.
What the heck?
No, I think that's something he made up. But that's the thing right there. It's all about the passion of what we endure most. And like I say, I don't think we're seeing it from a fanboy point of view. We're looking at individuals like ourselves who really love the things that we watch, and we don't just watch them because of popularity. We watch them because we really love what it brings to us, you know. And Grandma Song actually asked this: who's the modern day Steven Spielberg? That's a very good question. I'm gonna actually have to say, me personally, I'm gonna say Christopher Nolan in my mind.
Well, I said that earlier, so
I feel he is, because Christopher Nolan is a rarity. Because I know when he started with Mr. Dog it, can't say the damn word. Um, but anyway, the point is, you start from one thing, leads you to another, and go figure, it leads you to something much greater in storytelling, and that's
No,
all you want for a director to do. Go ahead.
What I was trying to say is, like I said before, I wanted to put this anecdote about Christopher Nolan is the only, for me, the only person who checks every boxes of the top five I have, from Eisenstein, Griffiths, Melis, Murnau, and Fritz Lang. He is the director who inherited all the elements of these five directors, and you put them, and he puts them perfectly into his movies. You can see from everybody else, you can see from my top five, in every movie Christopher Nolan is a piece and bits is what influenced him. So I was talking to Walter before, but because I had to leave out so many great directors. That's why I have something here. I wanna read. I translated it in English. So for me, the Bridge Builders. Now that we have reached the top 10, I have to talk about filmmakers who perfected cinema or pushed it into radical new direction. Why are they not in the top 10? Because they used the tool brilliantly, but they did not fundamentally reinvented tools themselves. The Perfectionist, Francis Ford Coppola brought high art into the blockbuster era, and Martin Scorsese mastered cinematic energy like few others. Steven Spielberg defined the modern cinematic imagination, blending technical precision with universal emotions resonance. They are among the greatest users of the language of film, but the language itself was created before them. The Border Breakers, Agnes Varda, helped shape the Nouvelle Vogue and proved that personal cinema could change the world. Jane Campion showed that deeply personal female-driven storytelling could reach international audiences. Chantal Ackerman defined modern feminist amateur cinema through radical observation and minimalism. The genre masters. Billy Wilder shaped the skeleton of classical Hollywood storytelling. Sergio Leone reinvented the Western through extreme close-ups and operatic pacing. Ridley Scott created the visual blueprint for modern science fiction with Blade Runner. James Cameron revolutionized blockbuster technology and pushed visual effects into a new era. The philosophers. Andrew Tarkovsky created cinema as meditation. Ingmar Bergman explored the human soul like no one else. Robert Bresson stripped film down to its purest form. They gave cinema its soul, but the top 10 gave cinema its body. That's what I wrote, and that's why all the others are not in my top 10 list. And I also wrote an outro, and if I can, I will read it. My outro is, in the end, a list that like this can never be final because influence in cinema can take many different forms. Some directors created the foundations of film language, others shaped the visual style, others changed the way of stories are told, and others transformed modern cinema or the film industry itself. Depending on which of these aspects you consider more important, the order of the list could change. The goal here was not to name the best films or personal favorites, but to look at which filmmakers truly changed the medium in a lasting way. In some cases, the influence lies in montage, in others, the storytelling and visual styles, or in technical or industrial development. Only the combination of all these different contributions makes cinema what it is today. For that reason, this ranking is not meant to be an absolute truth, but a film historical argument that can be discussed. And that is exactly what makes these discussions interesting, because film history was not shaped by one single person, but by many directors who changed the medium step by step.
I can't say anything else, and I can't say nothing. I can't add nothing to that because
Yeah.
that's a brilliant way of discussing that. That's a brilliant way of saying what this is all about. Yeah.
Can you imagine if you could like go back in time and tell some of these names mentioned, like Eisenstein, Robert Wine, F.W.O. Murnau, James Wales, Orson Welles, any of them? Hey, like almost 100 years into your future, there are going to be 4 people sitting in different corners of this world talking about you as some of the most important filmmakers ever made.
Yeah.
Like, what would their reaction be if you could tell them that?
Oh God. I mean, well, that's a conundrum. Go ahead.
I'd be more interested
So-
to
so-
see their reaction.
No, I would even more be interested getting them now into our world right now and show them how movies look now and what they think about if they imagined how movies could look and how and their reaction. Imagine Mona watching Blade Runner or watching a Star Wars movie, or imagine Fritz Lang watching Christopher Nolan's Tenet, Inception, or
Yeah.
what how, and my curiosity is, would they see their influence in the movies they created?
Well, and you see, I think you bring up a good point, Nina, and it's like, yeah, they would see it. And I'll say this, even the bad ones, even the ones that seem like crap, they would see that stylistic, painting of the film, storytelling on the film, and some of the bad ones. They would notice it, but at the same time, they were like, well, I see what they're trying to do, but I'm like, are they trying to do the artistic route, or are they just trying to do it to make a profit?
My take would be, what would Murnau say about what would Murnau made Nosferatu, and my what I would like to see, what will Murnau say about the Kinski Nosferatu and the new one Nosferatu we got right now.
That's a person.
What he would think about these movies.
I personally think he would have approved of the one Werner Herzog did.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think he would like that. I don't think he would like the Robert Eggers one.
Well,
there's another great director, Werner Herzog, German. Sorry.
Yeah, he was another one I came this close to putting on the list. In a good actor too, because if you watch the Jack Reacher movie with Tom Cruise, he played the main villain in that. And even though he was this crippled guy missing several fingers on both hands, he came across as absolutely terrifying.
He was. I was like, wow, he's. And I didn't know he was a director until later on when I was looking behind the scenes. Like, oh, he's a director. It's like, okay.
Yeah, he saved Klaus Kinski's ass for not being murdered.
Yeah, literally.
Right.
There was a film where some of the villagers approached him and they're like, for a small fee, nobody will ever know what happened to him. And he's like, no, I need him to complete this film.
That's crazy. But gentlemen, this has been an incredible, I'm like I say, thank you so much. This has been such an incredible journey. I hope y'all had some good times when discussing this. But before we kind of wrap this up, I want to see who's got whatever coming on their channel. So, Kevin, what do you have in store? I know what you got tomorrow, but anything else particular you got coming?
So tomorrow we'll have the Rocky special. So I'm talking about the 5 Rocky films. We may talk about a little bit of the Creed movies. So that's coming tomorrow, 10 p.m. UK time. Probably is at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And that is tomorrow. And then after tomorrow, then we have on your channel, I think, we're doing the 70th anniversary of Forbidden Planet podcast, which I've just finished today. I've finally got time to watch it again.
Right.
So that's coming on Saturday on Jedi Grand Vale Productions. And then going all the way to the 3rd of April, I've got 2 events. I have Into the Darkness, which is being recorded with my good friend Anthony Jordan here. Then later that night, we are going to be talking all things The Sopranos with my best friend, my childhood best friend, Jill Barabing Nielsen, a second appearance on the channel. Then the very next day at 10 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be talking Double Impact from 1991 with Jean-Claude Van Damme with Mr. DJ Anubis. So that's what's coming up tomorrow and next week.
And isn't this the movie with Dennis Rodman?
No, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, he's playing.
No, I mean, okay. What was the name with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dennis Rodman?
That's
Double Team.
Double Team, yes.
Okay,
it's got double.
In the Sopranos one, it's going to be interesting because we're going to have 2 like seasoned fans of the show, and I'm coming into this fresh off of my first ever time watching it.
Okay.
Well, Jill is very excited. She is very excited. And I'll mention one more thing since we have Queen Glamazona 8789 and Daniel and of course Jake in the audience. They love their kaiju stuff. So on the 10th of April, we're doing the next Kaiju Connections Classic Kaiju review. But it's not really a classic yet, but it's something different. We're doing Howl Beyond the Fog.
Yes. I don't know. We'll see. But well, that's good. Like I say, you got a good roundup, and I'm hoping I'll be for that the fog one, man. I don't know because I think there's something coming up, but I'll get to that in a second though. But Anthony, do you have anything besides being on the
the aforementioned ones I'm going to be on with Rocky and the Sopranos and whatnot? But aside from that, I'm getting ready to start ramping up content again. I don't have any set dates in mind, but be on the lookout. But one thing I am planning for a live stream in the future, I want to do a discussion of this one.
Okay, nice.
Marvelous.
That would be great. Now, Neenan, I know that you don't necessarily have a YouTube platform, but is there anything particular going on in your world that you just want to mention on here as far as
I'm happy that I could be on here today. I have to work too much, and maybe I have to. Maybe I'm on the stream tomorrow with the Rocky franchise because it's a dear to my heart franchise, and I believe I watched the Rocky movies at least 100 times.
Okay,
so maybe I can give some input into the movie, but like I said, Rocky is for me dear to my heart, like Rocky, Star Wars, Back to the Future. There are a lot of movies that are dear to my heart. So I guess if I can, I will join tomorrow the Rocky stream if Kevin is okay.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Queen Glamazona 8789. If you go over to Tubi and type in Howl Beyond the Fog, it's available there, free to watch.
Yes, exactly.
It's not like the stereotypical kaiju movie. It is puppeteering. It's it's done via puppetry. It's probably one of the first fully puppetized kaiju movie. It's only half an hour long and it's a fun film.
It is. It's It's very.
So
I might say it's a very emotional one too. I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
if someone in the chat wanna see a really, really, really good animated movie, it's from France, Belgium, and Japan. It's called The Red Turtle. No dialogue, but one of the greatest animation movies I've seen in a long time.
Okay.
The Red Turtle.
Red Turtle. I probably looked that up. Well, for me, I mentioned I will be attending Mr. Kevin Lambert's Rocky special, where we're going to be discussing 5 Rocky films, and like you said, maybe the Creed. Because I was thinking we're going to discuss the Creed films along with it, but I don't know. But I'll be on that tomorrow night, Friday night, not Thursday, because I said Friday early.
Walter, one second. Queen. It's called Red Turtle. Red Turtle.
Red Turtle.
Turtle.
Like
Gamera.
Yeah, Gamera. Yes. Turtle power, don't you know? Yes.
And it's not a Ninja Turtle movie.
No, I wouldn't think it would be. That would be a totally different kind of film. I wouldn't mind seeing that though. If they do something, a French version of Ninja Turtles. I don't know. Anyway, but no, Kevin pretty much said everything for this coming up weekend. We are going to be discussing the 70th anniversary of Forbidden Planet, but the next following week, it's not going to be the following. It's going to be the week after. I'm going to be discussing with a dear friend of mine, along with D Film Fanatic, Blood In, Blood Out, which is a 1993 urban, crime drama film that talks about 3 friends, and it's kind of relatable to the guest is going to be on there because they kind of lived that life, which I didn't, but I knew about it, but I just didn't entangle with it, But we're going to be doing that. And as far as that, that's pretty much a wrap for me. I mean, because I don't have anything else coming up, but I'm kind of like Anthony. I will be bringing out more content in the future. And it could be anything, It could be anything like this. It could be anything what's coming up, So we will see. Oh, that's the one thing. Yes, that's the other thing. Later in the month of April, I was supposed to do something with DJ Anubis, which was the 2007 Grindhouse film. We was gonna have a discussion, but something came up, and he had to reschedule. So that's what I did. I rescheduled it, and that'll be on a later date. But other than that, that's pretty much a wrap on this, So and I don't know what else to say except guys, gentlemen.
I have to answer to that comment of Jake.
Which one is that? Here.
Jake, try not to kill me tomorrow with laughter.
Oh.
Like Ivan Drago said, if he dies, he dies.
Yes. No, that's the thing.
Jake, let me just put this way: go through the whole stream without eating or drinking anything, and you should be fine.
You should be all right. Yes. Because we know it's going to be red as a tomato with the stuff we're going to bring out. Sorry. That's just how it is. No. But no, gentlemen, thank you. No, not just gentlemen, my brothers, thank you so kindly for joining me on this incredible ride with me, because this was a poor man's dream, but it came a reality, and I thank you for it. Thank you for all that you brought to the table, because this is brilliant. This is wonderful. I love it. I'm glad that y'all gave your all to what was this. So we're gonna wrap it up, and because like I say, we're going on 4 hours. God dog it! I didn't think it was going that long.
Imagine if you had done top 20.
Look, I thought about that, and I said to myself, thankfully I didn't. I kind of did it in half. So no, we need to do 20. So. But anyway, let's wrap it up, guys. Just for the record, everyone in the comments, thank you for your comments. I appreciate y'all. Y'all made this happen too. And I love this. So with that,
and everybody in the comments, please tune in tomorrow on Kevin's channel and watch us talk about Adrian.
Yes, I did it. That's Keep that fire going. Yeah, keep that fire going because we're gonna need it, But anyway, everybody, as I always close out on my videos, y'all take care. Y'all please be patient. And in terms of the directors and everything with films, keep the film legacy alive. Y'all take care now, right?